Episode 76. Don't worry, I fixed your problem. Okay, thank you, Sister Emily. April didn't refuse, as it was indeed inappropriate for her to keep wearing pajamas. When she went back to the guest room to change clothes, she found that all the clothes were brand name pieces. Even the shoes were from Louis Vuitton. After changing, she came out of the room. Aaron raised his head to look at her, eyes glowing. Sister Emily covered her mouth while laughing. I was so blind before. How could I not notice that April is as pretty as a star? Sister Emily, please stop making fun of me. April pulled at her shirt, then looked at Aaron and said, Mr. Bennett, these clothes are too expensive. I'm glad you're aware of that. Aaron smiled and responded with, You broke my jacket before, so you already owe me over 100,000. With these clothes, you now owe me about 200,000. You can pay me back bit by bit, but if you can't afford to pay your debt, feel free to sell yourself to me. April's face blushed. The last sentence is the point, isn't it? She asked through gritted teeth. So you want to sell yourself? Aaron nodded. I don't, she said. Aaron chuckled and said, I read a book recently. It says women never say what they mean. April felt like he was driving her crazy. She didn't respond to him. Instead, she focused on breakfast. Before she finished breakfast, she got a call from Winnie. April, I didn't go back to school last night, but this morning I found that in the group chat of our school, in WeChat, and in the forums, people are all saying you're a thief. How did this happen? I've sent some screenshots to your WeChat. Check them now. April hurriedly opened the WeChat app on her phone. She found that some people had taken pictures of her being taken away by police. The pictures were now spreading all over the school. Instantly, her heart sank. Things had become like this in just one night. Her enemies didn't even give her any breathing space. Judging by the current situation, soon enough, the whole school would know that she was a thief. No one from the film industry would hire her. Even worse, she might be expelled from school. Abruptly, Aaron reached out a hand to take her phone away. He spent a while looking at the pictures, then put the phone down and said blandly, Stop looking at your phone. Finish the breakfast first. I'll fix your problem. April paused briefly and asked, How? Aaron turned to say to Derek, Get my computer. Derek soon brought his laptop to him. He turned it on and found the forum of Langford College of Communication. It was pretty obvious that April had been quite famous in her school, as the entire forum was discussing what happened last night. He quickly browsed the comments of some people. At 1001 Nights. Oh my, I can't believe April Kennedy would do something like this. I saw her as a pure and noble fairy. If I knew what she was really like, I'd have offered her money for sex. At Honor of Kings Good. So disgusting, and she made herself look so virtuous in front of us. At Pa. I wonder how they recruit students. How could they admit such a disreputable thief? At I'm gonna be rich. I heard that she had pulled some strings to transfer to our school. Some people say that she often went to Professor Connor's home, and every time she visited Professor him, Mrs. Connor wasn't home. Perhaps she slept with him to get this opportunity. The more comments Aaron read, the darker his face became. Even he couldn't bear reading the students' dirty language. So without a doubt, April would have a hard time reading them. He pondered shortly, then spent a while typing with his slender fingers. About 10 minutes later, he turned off his computer and said to April, Don't worry, I fixed it for you. How did you do that? April asked. She had only read a few lines from the screenshots that Winnie had sent to her. She knew that Winnie must have avoided the worst comments to protect her feelings, but she could imagine how bad it could be. After all, back in Lukesville, after her father went to prison, she had read millions of insulting comments about herself from the forum at the school. Even her best friends tried hurting her. It was the first time she'd experienced something like that. She nearly collapsed. What was worse was that no one was there to help her. But now she was much stronger than before. She was still afraid, but she wouldn't allow herself to show her fear. At this juncture, when Aaron said, Don't worry, it was akin to him holding out a lamp in the pitch dark, and his warmth and light engulfed her immediately. It's simple. I posted another thread on your school forum while posing as an insider. I said that you were dating a handsome young rich man, and I also added that he owns a listed company and drives you around in his $6 million luxury SUV. Why would you have to resort to stealing if you have such a rich boyfriend? Also, I said you didn't tell anyone about him as you wanted to keep a low profile. I already texted Marvin, and he will be enlisting the help of hired commenters to repost the thread. Tell me, isn't the story convincing? April stood silent for a while before stuttering. This idea isn't too bad, but why do I feel so uneasy? Don't be uneasy. I can lend myself to your aid for a while. Aaron gave her a sexy smirk. His smile was dazzling. Mr. Bennett, I'm okay with this plan. April chewed on her sandwich hesitantly. But do you actually have a $6 million SUV? Aaron raised both his brows. Who says I don't? I just got one a couple of days ago. I'll drive that later. April was in a daze, holding the sandwich in her mouth. As she stared at Aaron with bright eyes, she realized that Aaron's description of her imaginary boyfriend was practically tailored to his own profile. Meanwhile, Aaron was having a joyous morning as he sipped his coffee. After the incident of driving his sports car in the rain, he vowed never to drive another sports car again. He would be driving SUVs for their dates from now on. It was what he was good at, and it made him look manly, unlike the frivolous Richard. After 10 minutes, Aaron rolled up and parked a large SUV in front of April. Don't just oogle at the car. Hop in, Aaron waved to her. April pulled open the door and used a large amount of strength to pull herself clumsily onto the car seat. I can't blame her, although there's a footstep. It is her first time riding such a magnificent car. It's hard to look graceful doing that, Aaron thought. Mr. Bennett, if someone saw me getting out of this car, it'll be an ugly sight to behold. There's no way I'll be able to climb down elegantly, April said bravely. This wasn't a cliché TV series after all. Aaron paused before saying, I'll carry you out then. April nearly choked. That's not what I'm suggesting. Let's do that when we reach the school. April was silent and made a face. What kind of expression is that? Are you unwilling? I'm just trying to help you, you know, Aaron said. No, thank you, April managed to sputter out. You can smile if you're grateful. All right, if your roommate asks about us, you have to insist that I'm your boyfriend. I'm not sure about your roommates other than Winnie, but we have to play it safe, you know, Aaron reminded her. All right. The situation was as it was, and April had to go along with the plan. Watching the tall man beside her basking in the morning sun, she felt protected and safe. It was the first time in 2 years since her father was incarcerated that she felt this way. Episode 77. How about this? I'll pay for your food from now on. About 20 minutes later, April got another call from Winnie. April, what's going on? Some people in the forum are saying that you had a tall and handsome and super rich boyfriend this whole time. They're making it sound real. April told her about the plan. After hearing that, Winnie chuckled and said, It seems that as long as Mr. Bennett is there, I don't need to head back to school in a hurry. Spend more time with your boyfriend. I'll be fine, April said, then hung up the phone. Does Winnie really have a boyfriend? Asked Aaron. Yeah. Well, Aaron nodded and continued. Poor Marvin. On her way back, April got calls from Marianne and Annie and answered their questions vaguely. After arriving at the school, Aaron drove directly toward the girls' dormitory. However, before the car got near to the building, he saw a lot of people standing in that area. As the car couldn't get through the crowd, he had no choice but to park by the roadside. As April opened the car door, Aaron suddenly walked over and put an arm around her waist. I can get off. Before she finished, he carried her out of the car. You're light as a feather, he said after carrying her down. Is it because you spent all your money to buy me that jacket? April thought for a moment, then said, It was my fault for ruining your jacket. It looks like I should take the responsibility. How about this? I'll pay for your food from now on. April gave a start. She was often shocked by his words, even though he was less sharp-tongued than before. I don't think you need to do that. I can still afford to eat. Really? People in the forum said that you were poor and that you ate steamed bread and tofu every day. How can my woman be so poor? April pouted, thinking that the students were really gossipy. Mr. Bennett, didn't you make me live on cabbage and tofu when I was working for you? Aaron paused, as he didn't expect that one day he would shoot himself in the foot. Back then, you were fat, so I wanted to help you lose some weight. April felt speechless, as Aaron could always find excuses for what he did, and said, Mr. Bennett, she said, if you insist, just put $100 in my meal card. That's the amount I'll spend on food every month. 100. How can my woman spend so little on food? Never mind, I'll put 20,000 in her card so she can have good food every day. Enough talking, let's go find Sylvia. April took his arm and dragged him toward the dorm building. Following her, Aaron glanced at her hand, which was holding his arm, making him smile with satisfaction. Quite a few people were standing in front of the building. Getting a closer look, both Aaron and April saw a handsome boy among the crowd. Ryan Rodriguez. He was an actor who had played a part in that movie. While thinking, he knitted his brows. At that moment, Ryan abruptly turned his head to look at Aaron. His eyes darkened slightly, but still he smiled and walked quickly over, saying, "April, you're finally here. I've been expecting you for a while." "Ryan, don't you know that she's a thief?" asked a female student. "She stole money from one of our classmates. People are all talking about that right now." "Yeah," some other people agreed. "Nonsense. I don't believe it." Ryan frowned, raised his voice, and said, "I've known April since I was little. Don't I know what kind of a person she is? She would never steal money. That, and I can guarantee with my own reputation." "What? You've known each other since you were little? But she was caught red-handed." The surrounding people were surprised, as they didn't think that April was Ryan's friend. April was surprised by his declaration as well. They were acquaintances who met while dubbing the same movie when they were much younger. She didn't even consider him as a friend yet, and she did not expect him to stand up for her like this, vouching for her with his own character. "Who said she was caught red-handed?" Sylvia and Grisman walked out of the hostel together, dressed in their police uniforms. "After questioning April at the police station, we found that some parts of the story did not add up, and she was most likely framed. This case concerns the reputation of a student, and we will not take this investigation lightly." Madison Martin from the broadcasting faculty stepped forward. "What's not adding up? She was caught red-handed. There's a witness and concrete evidence, and those are hard facts against her case. April, are you trying to use your connections? Oh, right. I heard that you were quite close to Professor Connor. Are you guys—" Aaron's gaze hardened, and before he could protest against this girl's malicious accusations, Ryan shouted, "Shut up! Professor Connor is a respectable man. Stop defiling his name with your dirty mouth." Madison winced at the brutality of his words. "I'm not the only one saying that. I read about it on the campus forum." "I received news that Professor Connor and his wife will be filing a police report against the defamations online," Sylvia remarked sternly. "April is the daughter of Professor Connor's schoolmate. Because of that, Professor Connor and his wife paid extra attention to April, as she has no family in Rosewood City. They don't deserve to be insulted like this. According to the Defamation Act in our statute, posting these vicious comments on the internet can be considered as a punishable crime. All of you are educated university students, and you should know better than to believe everything you read on the internet." "That's true," someone whispered in the crowd. The crowd erupted in whispers. "Have you heard? An insider posted a thread about April's rich boyfriend. Apparently, he's a mega rich guy that's extremely handsome, too." "Really? Isn't she single?" "Not sure. Someone on the forum also said that they saw him drop April off several times near the school, and someone else saw them walking around the night market holding hands. Didn't Ryan say himself just now that they're childhood sweethearts?" "Well, if that's true, then there's no reason for her to resort to stealing, right? Anyways, I saw a man carrying April off in an expensive-looking SUV earlier on. It's the same man who's standing next to her now. Oh, wow, he's really handsome. He is pretty good-looking, but I think Ryan looks more athletic and bright. I like boys with a healthy glow." Aaron had been listening to the chatter, and he was pleased with what they were saying at first. But it took a quick turn downhill. He took April by her hand and walked into the hostel. April was taken aback. He was holding her hand in the public eye. Sylvia was also in a daze. Judging by how intimate they were acting right now, it was hard to believe that they didn't sleep together last night. April is not an easy woman, though, Sylvia thought. She followed them quickly with 1,000 questions burning in her mind. Ryan jogged after them with a grim face. "Real," he shouted. April slowed down and turned to look at the beautiful boy running after her. The moment he stepped forward and vouched for her unconditionally, she had thought of him as a friend. Rye, thank you for coming down today to help me. You should head back. I still have to assist the police officers in their investigations." "Real? Rye?" Aaron couldn't stand the way they were addressing each other. He hadn't even started calling her a nickname yet. How could another man use the nickname so comfortably? Episode 78. "Mr. Rodriguez, right? Thank you for looking after my girlfriend." Rye. They sound so close to each other. Why doesn't she just call me Ronnie? With a cold smile, he stepped forward to shield April with his tall and strong body, then said, "Mr. Rodriguez, right? Thank you for looking after my girlfriend. We're busy now, so you can go back." April didn't know what to say. Is he an actor too? He's pretty good at it. After some short eye contact with Aaron, Ryan smiled and said, "I should be thanking you. I've known Rael my entire life. I should buy you lunch, but I've never heard that Rael has a boyfriend." Aaron felt a little annoyed. He was surprised to find that Ryan wasn't so easy to deal with, but still, he didn't take the latter seriously no matter how good he was at talking. "No need," he said. "Normally you need to make an appointment 1 month in advance to have lunch together with me, unless you're my girlfriend or family." "It's all right, I'll just buy Rael lunch." Aaron felt that Ryan was so hard to deal with. He turned to put an arm around April's shoulder and then responded with, "My woman doesn't need another man to buy her lunch. Darling Apricot, since he wants so badly to have lunch together with you, you should take him to the canteen of your school. I just promised to put 20,000 onto your meal card. It should be enough for you to buy his food." When she heard him call her Apricot, April's face blushed. And next, when he said 20,000, she was speechless. Didn't she just tell him that 200 would be enough? The stunned Sylvia stared at the men, feeling that a war was starting. She was even a little jealous of April. Ryan was a popular young actor, and April actually knew him. If she knew Ryan, all of her friends would be so envious of her. 20,000? I don't think that's necessary. Ryan paused slightly, the smile on his face disappearing. "Of course it's necessary. If she didn't complain, I'd buy your canteen." "All right, Ryan, I'll call you later." April hurriedly said something as she really couldn't let them continue that conversation. While speaking, she winked at Ryan to signal him to stop talking. When Aaron saw her wink, his face turned cold. "What, winking at each other right in front of me? This is awful." "All right." Ryan smiled, turned, and prepared to leave. As he took a few steps forward, Sylvia called his name suddenly. After that, she took out a notebook and a pen from her pocket, walked up to him with a bashful smile, and asked, "Can you please sign your name for me? I like your movie a lot. You have many fans in our police station." Ryan paused briefly, then nodded with a warm smile. Aaron rubbed his forehead and said, "Our police officer's so unprofessional now. You're working right now, yet instead of focusing on the case, you've grasped an opportunity to ask for a signature? Tell me your badge number. I'll make a complaint about you." Sylvia was honestly speechless. Was he really her brother? "Don't be so mean." April sighed and said. Ryan quickly signed Sylvia's notebook, then said to April, "Rael, is he really your boyfriend? How can you tolerate him? I'd be driven crazy if I were you." Then he left. After he left, the area around Aaron turned as cold as the North Pole. April pressed her lips together, remaining silent. Looking at them, the policeman named Grismond didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Sylvia bravely interrupted the silence. "Brother, don't you think you're acting very petty in front of your love rival?" "Who said that he's my love rival? He's not nearly as qualified as me." Aaron slanted his gaze towards April, and he could see that she looked upset. He vaguely recalled that she called him mean. "Don't be mistaken, Sylvia. Your brother and I are only pretending. We came to a consensus in the morning to put on this show to help my case and reputation," April explained. "Sounds like a good plan. So you guys are only a pretend couple? Bro, aren't you taking this acting job too seriously?" Sylvia looked at her brother. "I can't help it. I take everything I do seriously." Aaron reached out and ruffled April's hair vigorously. "So tell me about you and Ryan. Have you known him for a long time? Since you were a child? How come you never brought him up? What's your relationship with him now? You're not allowed to call him Rye from now on. And also you're not allowed to bat your eyes at him." April's hair was in a mess, and her mind was as well. Aren't these things out of his realm of control? She thought. Enough. She peeled his hand off her head in frustration. "He is my friend, and I can do whatever I want because it's none of your business." "I won't allow it," Aaron said bossily. "Since you hired me to be your boyfriend, I will take this role seriously till the end." "When did I ever hire you? Didn't you step up and choreograph this story on your own? Can I fire you?" April said harshly. "No." They just stepped into the hostel, and she already wanted him gone. Aaron was highly displeased. She had an uneasy feeling that she just got herself stuck in a rut. Sylvia patted her shoulder with sympathy. "Rael, you shouldn't have agreed to go ahead with this plan. It'll be an impossible mission to get rid of my brother. April nodded her head in agreement, and she was starting to realize how difficult it would be to get away from Aaron now. Suddenly, Riley Hendricks and Harry Carlson appeared together with Director Patrick. When Riley saw April, she quickly pointed at her and said, "Director Patrick, this is the girl who stole my money last night." April frowned. She didn't expect Director Patrick to be there too. She had a feeling that they had a long day ahead of them. Director Patrick assessed April quickly and then introduced himself to Sylvia and Grismond. "Are you here to investigate what happened last night? I only heard about the theft at the women's hostel earlier this morning, and the case has gotten quite a buzz. According to the school rules, if the case ends up implicating the school's reputation and standing, then we will either bring the case to the disciplinary council or expel her. Although the sum of money involved is only $5,000, we want to be thorough with the investigation as it concerns the reputation of a student here. There were some parts of the story that didn't add up, so we're back to look at the CCTV," Grismond said. "Police officer, didn't you find the money in her bag last night yourself? Why do you have to look at the CCTV today?" Riley asked hurriedly, her eyes darting around before resting on April. "I don't care what tricks you pulled to make the police officers come over to reinvestigate the case, but I know you did it. How could you do such a thing after the level of trust Professor Sandler put in you? He even made you the MC for the Christmas event. You are a disgrace of the faculty." Episode 79. For my girlfriend's reputation, I don't care about the money. "Are you sure that Professor Sandler will choose you if I don't get to be the host?" April clenched her fists, gave a cold smile, and said, "Your ability to make an immediate response is poor. You're so selfish that you framed me to benefit yourselves. You won't do it if you have any sense of group honor. Haha, you're funny. The money was found in your purse. How did I frame you? You've done it, yet you refuse to admit it. I've never seen someone like you." Once Riley said that, Sylvia's phone started ringing, so she walked to the side to answer the phone. Aaron walked to April's side, gently patted her on the shoulder, and said, "Rill, don't worry. Last night I've sent the cash to check for fingerprints. If you really stole the money, your fingerprints can certainly be found on the money. If you didn't, it'll be a different story." April paused briefly. Riley and Harry's expressions changed simultaneously. Harry forced a smile and said, "You're joking. It's just a theft case. The police don't have the time to identify the fingerprints. I've pulled some strings to find a judicial authentication institution. They are authoritative." Aaron smiled and said, "It cost me quite some money, but I don't care, as long as it can prove that my girlfriend is innocent." Hearing that, Director Patrick, who had been quietly listening to their conversation, glanced at Aaron. Aaron looked under 30, yet his vibe made even Director Patrick, who often took part in all sorts of social engagement, slightly afraid. "You are," he said to Aaron. "I'm her boyfriend," Aaron responded blandly. "I was surprised when I heard people say that my girlfriend stole some money. When we became girlfriend and boyfriend, I gave her a black card, but she refused. I gave her a sports car, diamond watches as gifts, but she didn't accept any of them. No matter how badly she lacks money, she will always work to earn the money she needs. So her stealing $5,000 honestly sounds ridiculous." April sneakily glanced at Aaron and found that he was perfectly calm while talking. She even admired him for how real he made his words sound. Black card, sports car, diamond watches. Everybody can be an actor or actress nowadays, she thought. "Sports car?" Riley snorted and said, "April, please stop kidding. Where did you find this actor? If you really have such a rich boyfriend, why do you always wear cheap clothes? And why have you been trying so hard to save money?" Aaron frowned and responded with, "Lady, not every woman is as vainglorious as you are. She just doesn't want to show off. She doesn't need the whole school to know that she has a rich boyfriend. She wears cheap clothes because she wants to keep a low profile. I've bought her loads of expensive clothes, yet she just hardly wears them. She doesn't want too much attention. Instead, she just wants to focus on studying. After all, as the prettiest girl and the best student in your department, she's already being envied by many. If she dresses differently than the others, some unwanted rumors about her would certainly be created. However, even though she never wanted any problems came to her." Hearing his long speech, April was shocked. "He should be a lawyer," she thought. "He can even talk black into white. Amazing." He nearly made her believe that they had truly been maintaining a relationship for a long time, and that she was really a low-key person. You? You're just bragging. Riley's face flushed because of anger as she said, Director Patrick, we never heard that she has a boyfriend. This guy must be someone she found randomly. Director Patrick had met all sorts of people in his lifetime. He was observing Aaron quietly, and his gaze rested on Aaron's wrist. The watch he was wearing was not a visibly luxury brand, but he could tell that it would set him back at least $1 million. All right, stop squabbling. Didn't the gentleman say that he sent the dollar bills to the forensics? And if April did it, her fingerprints will be all over them? The results are out, Sylvia returned after the call. Without missing a beat, she said, the report states that there were many fingerprints on the notes, but none were from April. Isn't that strange? What? What's so strange about that? Maybe she was wearing gloves. Riley stuttered guiltily. She didn't expect April's boyfriend to show up, and she didn't expect for him to be so relentless in the investigation that he would actually spend money to send the bills for forensic analysis. Another thing, Sylvia smirked at Harry. The officer said that you were the witness last night. According to the records, you said that you saw April entering the room suspiciously when you were returning to the hostel. The time was roughly 6:30 p.m., but I saw you walking into the building at 6 p.m. through the CCTV tapes. You two stay on the 3rd floor, don't you? Didn't you take half an hour to get from the 1st floor to the 3rd? Did you take half an hour to get from the 1st floor to the 3rd? I was playing with my phone while heading up, and that's why I was walking slowly. Oh, right. I also stopped on level 2 to talk to a classmate, Harry hurriedly added. I told the police that I saw her around 6:30. I can't be sure of the exact time, so it was an estimate. Sylvia raised her brow. Are you sure? How long did that conversation last for? Harry nodded her head. About 20 minutes or so, I'm sure. Sylvia's lips curled into a smile, and she opened her notebook and looked at her notes. Look at my poor memory. I remembered incorrectly. You did walk into the hostel at 6:30, according to the videotapes, but now you're saying that you took a leisurely stroll and stopped to talk to a friend? This means you got back to your room at about 6:50, and there's no way you could have seen April entering Riley's room. According to my conjectures, you made a false statement. Harry and Riley looked sick, and Harry was stunned for a while before shaking her head vehemently. No, I didn't. I remembered wrong. Sylvia's face was serious. But you said you were sure when I asked you just now. Are you going to go back on your word again? It's not like that. Harry's head was spinning from Sylvia's interrogation. She felt anxious as Sylvia locked her gaze onto hers with intensity. She didn't have the wits to formulate a reasonable explanation quickly now. Riley, on the other hand, was looking on with anxiety, and she didn't dare to say anything since she wasn't the witness after all. Maybe I saw her at around 6:50. I didn't pay attention to the exact time, but I'm sure it was between 6 to 7. You said 6:30 yesterday, and then today you changed your statement to 6:50. Do you know you can be charged with obstruction of justice for changing your statement so frivolously? Sylvia's tone was getting more and more high-strung. Riley quickly chipped in. Even if she keeps changing the time, it doesn't change the fact that April stole my money. I'm just getting to that. We're going to have to talk about your conflict of interest in this incident. According to the officer, April's going to be the MC of the Christmas event at your school. I also heard that there was only one available spot, and you got into a fight with April during the nomination process. If April really does get charged for theft, then she won't be allowed to host the event anymore. Naturally, you would become one of the top candidates to take on the gig. All in all, we have reason to believe that you set her up to frame her, Sylvia concluded. Episode 80. I'll sue you for slander. After a brief pause, Sylvia continued, After all, since it happened last night at 11 o'clock, many people have heard that April stole someone's money via WeChat and forums. April's boyfriend believed that some people have slandered her on purpose, so he called the police an hour ago. By now, the police have found out that the account which spread the rumor belongs to you, Riley. After hearing that, Director Patrick slowly turned his eyes to Riley and Harry. He knitted his brows. Riley managed to stay calm while Harry's face started paling a little. April didn't quite believe Sylvia before, but now she was stunned. Normally, Sylvia may seem to be a little unreliable, but when handling a case, she was like another person, like a lawyer in court. What surprised her more was that Aaron had actually called the police because someone tried to slander her. She had no idea about that. She quietly turned to him, but he didn't sense her gaze. He slightly curved his perfect lips into a smile and then said, Madam, based on the information you provided just now, if I send my lawyer to sue these two for slander and defamation, could you start an official case file? Of course we can. If you don't mind going through all the trouble, you can spend some more money to check your girlfriend's purse for fingerprints. Like the fingerprints of these two? Sylvia shrugged and said. Harry shivered, nearly falling to the ground. Aaron stared at her blandly while continuing, If we're really going to engage in a lawsuit, Miss Hendricks, I'll feel sorry for you. Because April 1, you'll be charged with perverting the course of justice. That might have some bad influence on your future career. And if April wins, she'd be the largest beneficiary, while you wouldn't be able to benefit from the whole thing at all. Are you insane? Do you have to check for fingerprints and start a lawsuit for $5,000? Riley panicked. I won't press any charges, all right? I'll just bear the loss. Bear the loss? Aaron laughed as if he had heard a funny joke. I don't think you're clear with the current situation. It's not about you letting us get away. Instead, it's about me suing you for fabricating facts to slander my girlfriend. $5,000 is nothing, but you can't buy your reputation with $5,000. As for fingerprint identification, we don't need to do it because I now have enough evidence to make you fall in disrepute. Don't forget to contact your parents. You'll get a court summons soon enough. No, please don't do that. Harry couldn't stay silent anymore. He burst into tears and said, I admit it, I lied. I didn't actually see anything. Riley put the money in April's purse when April was taking a shower. She stole the key to April's dorm a couple of days ago from one of her roommates named Annie. Harry, don't you try to frame me, Riley screamed. When did I do that? You told me to lie. You're jealous of April because she's going to host the Christmas show. You said that she probably slept with Professor Sandler, and that's why he picked her. You also said that the boys in our department recommended her because she's been flirting with them all day. I'm also jealous of April's MC gig and thought she was awful like you said. I was so wrong. I thought that if the others saw her as a thief, I'd be in the running. Harry said while trembling. April, please forgive me. Don't sue me. I studied so hard to come to college. I'm going to graduate next year. If you sue me, my life will be ruined. You never considered that you were putting my future and studies on the line, April said coldly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Harry said in a panic, apologizing furiously. As long as you don't sue me, I'll do whatever you ask. Sylvia cleared her throat and said, Well, Director Patrick, looks like we've got to the bottom of this case. We have to take Riley and Harry with us for interrogation. Sorry for troubling you, officers. We might have wrongly punished April if not for the both of you. You two are a disgrace to the school. How could you use such lowly methods to get what you want, instead of putting your heart and mind to the books? Especially Riley. This incident reflects your poor moral character, and we will have to expel you. As for Harry, Director Patrick reprimanded, although Harry made a false statement, he did come forward to confess to his wrongdoings. I don't think we have to expel him. We can let the police deal with you accordingly, April said. You don't seem like a bad crook. I'll detain you for half a month. Sylvia fished out a pair of handcuffs and put it around Riley in a flash. You two, follow me back to the station. No, please, don't expel me, please. April, please, I'm sorry, just let me off this time. Riley was crying hysterically and grabbed at April's hands desperately. Before she could reach April, a big hand intercepted her grasp midair and pushed her toward Sylvia. Aaron warned her, Your posts online were put there to ruin her, but you want her to forgive you? Come on, let's go. You're already acting like this in school, so what kind of evil deeds will you do once you graduate and enter society? Sylvia and Grismond were escorting them towards the car. Before leaving, Sylvia shuffled up to April and whispered, Hello, sister-in-law, and welcome aboard my brother's pirate ship. April shivered. Needless for Sylvia to say, she knew she would have trouble getting out of this situation. Director Patrick, I hope you can make an announcement to the whole school about the truth of what happened here. Help April clear her name, Aaron said seriously. Of course. Don't worry about it. Director Patrick was overwhelmed by his dominating aura. I would also like to make a suggestion. Aaron gestured towards the ceiling above them. I think you should install CCTV cameras along the corridors. There are so many people walking in and out of this building, and if you had cameras installed along the corridors, then this wouldn't have happened today. We didn't install cameras for the sake of the girls' privacy. I didn't think something like this would happen. But I'll relay your feedback to the school administration, responded Director Patrick. Thank you, Aaron said nonchalantly. Since the case is closed now, you should leave the women's hostel. If not for the special circumstances today, males are not usually allowed in the building, Director Patrick said with a smile before making a move himself. Let's go. I'll walk you down, April said and looked around. It was Monday, and most students were in class. She knew that the housekeeping lady was a strict woman. Episode 81. You're even in her bed and spreading her blanket. No, I need to go to your dorm and take a look. Aaron didn't move. He made it sound like she was really his girlfriend. What do you want to look at in my dorm? She asked. I need to know where you live. Aaron glanced at her and said, Every time I have seen you, you have been in trouble. If I know where you live, I'll be less worried if someone troubles you again. April's eyebrows quivered slightly. His words might mean nothing to others, but to her, who was alone and away from home, those words were just so meaningful. She felt that she was finally not alone, and that she finally had someone who cared about her. Doesn't he always say mean words? But this time, let's go. Aaron walked upstairs. April had no choice but to follow behind him. At first, she worried that her roommates might be in the room, but later she found that the others hadn't come back. They had a spring cleaning session in the girls' dorm yesterday, and most of the girls liked things clean. Therefore, the room was rather clean and tidy when they got in. April's bed and closet looked slightly messy as someone had rummaged through them. Aaron looked around. He paused slightly when walking past Marianne's table. I think Marianne is your distant cousin. April turned to where he was looking and saw a photo of Marianne which was placed on her table. It's such a small world, she said. Ah, it's Marianne. No wonder she looks familiar. Aaron nodded and said, She doesn't look like the girl in the photo at all. That's why people say to never believe in girls' photos, because they aren't real. April said. Fortunately, she isn't here, otherwise she might want to vomit blood if she heard what you said. Aaron raised his brows in disagreement and said, I've already made that euphemistic enough. April really wanted to know what would happen if he didn't try to make his words euphemistic. I haven't come to a small place like this for long, said Aaron wistfully. I lived like this when I was a soldier, but our dorm was much tidier than yours, and our blankets weren't folded so unskillfully. April lowered her head. Earlier, she felt her bed was tidy enough. While she was thinking, Aaron suddenly climbed up to her bed and spread out her blanket to refold it carefully. While doing that, he said, I used to have better blanket folding skills. I could fold a blanket more perfectly than this. April didn't know what to say. Oi, why is a man here? Who told you to come in? The dorm manager walked past April's room and saw Aaron from the outside. She angrily walked in and said, You're even on her bed spreading her blanket. What are you going to do? It's the middle of the day. Didn't you see the sign at the entrance? Boys are not allowed in here. You little girls just can't be careful. April's face blushed. Madam, we've talked to Ms. Wagner before coming in. You again? Ms. Xavier pointed at her and continued, I remember you. You've impressed me, actually. Countless boys were downstairs to tell you that they love you. Some of them lit hundreds of candles. Some of them covered the ground with flowers, and some of them even sang for you. So many noises. You have a boyfriend now? I don't think I've seen this one before. April felt so embarrassed, and somehow she sensed a stream of cold air coming from the man standing beside her. It's not like that, she tried to explain. You've brought him into your dorm, but now you're telling me that he's not your boyfriend? Ms. Xavier glanced at Aaron and said, He looks prettier than the other suitors. You little girls all like handsome men, but in my opinion, most handsome men aren't reliable. Those boys will try everything to get in the girls' dorm. I've worked as a dorm manager for over 10 years, so I've seen everything. The longer Aaron listened to this old lady, the more annoyed he got. Were all housekeeping staff as naggy as her? He liked her assumption that he was April's boyfriend, though. There's been a misunderstanding. I was just helping her fold her duvet, he eventually said. Ms. Xavier was taken aback and looked over to April's bed. Folding the blanket? Who are you fooling? This is one of the lousiest excuses I have ever heard. Why don't you just say that you were fixing the bed frame? I don't have to lie to you, Aaron retorted. All right. Well, I've seen plenty of youngsters like you sneaking around the hostel. I know exactly what you're after. I don't mean to nag, but you should find somewhere else if you are up to something. Won't cost too much. April wanted to dig a hole and bury herself in it. You've really misunderstood. I only came up to look at her room and then offered to help her fold her duvet when I saw the mess. I don't care about the cost of booking a hotel room. Besides, the bed isn't even long enough for me to lie down, Aaron said coolly. Not big enough for him to do anything to. All right, I'm sorry. We'll head down now. April had a feeling that the more she tried to explain, the more it would seem as if she was trying to cover something up. She grabbed Aaron and headed for the door. Ms. Xavier had no choice but to follow behind them. April locked her door behind her, and as she turned around, she heard Aaron say, Can you leave me a phone number? My girlfriend is studying by herself in Rosewood City, and I worry about her. She was framed last night by someone who stayed here and was even arrested and brought to the police station. Oh, so it was her last night. Okay. Since her situation is quite unique, I'll give you the number of the hostel administration office. That is the most I can do, Ms. Xavier said with a hint of unwillingness. Your girlfriend has way too many suitors. You've got to guard her well. You're not allowed in here next time, so go out if you must. Although I'm an elder, I'm not the ultra-conservative type, but you can't take the school image and culture. What would the girls' hostel look like if she brings back a guy today and then another girl brings back another guy tomorrow? April was frowning deeply. Was it necessary for Erin to get her number too? Enough, let's go. She couldn't bear to stand there in the corridor with the lady for another minute longer. The moment they left the building, Erin grabbed her arm and tugged her towards him. I didn't know you had so many suitors. They gift you flowers, serenade you, and dance for you? How many of them are there? It's none of your business. April looked at him helplessly. Mr. Bennet, you're poking your nose into too many of my affairs. Also, if you didn't insist on taking a tour of my room, then Mrs. Xavier wouldn't have misunderstood us for being indecent. I'll be so ashamed to bump into her from now on. Of course it is my business. Since this morning, I have officially signed on to be your boyfriend, Erin replied matter-of-factly. April inhaled sharply. Well, about that. Technically, I didn't hire you. You say to yourself that you were going to lend yourself to my aid for a short while, so we are a pretend couple, because I don't believe it. Erin had stopped speaking, and his eyes were still locked onto hers. His dark pupils sent chills down her spine, as well as a tiny bit of guilt. Episode 82. April, I've never heard of fake boyfriends. April, that would be immoral. Are you trying to cut me loose now because your problem has been solved? Erin frowned and said, You didn't refuse when I said that I'd lend myself to you, did you? You're right, but our relationship is still fake, she said. Erin glared at her and responded with, What is fake? Did you clarify that it would be fake at that time? Why don't I know about that? Do I have to clarify that? Wasn't it obvious? April, I've never heard about fake boyfriends. I can either be or not be your boyfriend, but I can't be your fake boyfriend. Since I was your boyfriend then, I'm still your boyfriend now, said Erin loud and clear. April paused for a second, then gave a conclusion. You're acting shamelessly. You are the one who is acting shamelessly. Erin proudly raised his chin and responded with, Have you forgotten that earlier when I offered to top up your meal card, you didn't refuse? There's an unwritten rule in universities. Topping up girls' meal cards is their boyfriend's exclusive right. Don't tell me that you had no idea about it. When you agreed to that, you have admitted that I was your boyfriend. So arguing with me now is meaningless. April was stupefied. She felt like she was falling into a giant trap. I thought you offered to top up my meal card because you wanted to help me. And when was there an unwritten rule about how only a girl's boyfriend can top up her meal card? Keep pretending. If you don't believe in it, go find the boys who are topping up meal cards for girls in the canteen and ask them if they're the girls' boyfriends, said Erin proudly. April fell into a silence. Could she really go and ask those boys? Of course she couldn't. The boys who topped up meal cards for girls in the canteen were certainly the girls' boyfriends. If not, those girls must be gold diggers, and she was definitely not one of them. As she didn't respond, Erin smiled and said, Let's go top up your meal card. Mr. Bennet, wait. April dragged his arm back and said, I don't want you to top up my meal card anymore, all right? I have to. You see, the dorm manager already knows you're my girlfriend. If you lose weight, she might think I'm a stingy guy. Erin rejected her and conveniently held her hand. His large hand wrapped up her small hand, which was so soft and so pleasant to hold. Even our hands can be held together in a perfect way, he thought. Being led by the hand, April took about 10 steps forward. She was a little muddled as she didn't expect that this man could actually be so cheeky. Don't look at me like that, Erin turned and said to her. You see, everyone in the forum is saying that you have a rich, young, and handsome boyfriend. If your schoolmates suddenly found out that you don't have a boyfriend, and that what people said in the forum was not real, what would they say about you? They might laugh at you for being dumped or accuse you of lying. No matter what, they can't wait to see you fall in embarrassment, so I think you should thank me right now. April clenched her teeth as she began suspecting that he planned all of this. Mr. Bennet, she said, what if I'm not afraid of being laughed at? Well, if I decide to help someone, I'll help them to the end. Erin said blandly. April honestly didn't know what to say. It was the first time she had met someone so thick-skinned. Until they arrived at the canteen, April was still in shock. "Give me your meal card." Erin reached out a hand to her. April gave a bitter smile and said, "Mr. Bennett, I can't afford to eat. You see, you don't have to top up my meal card even if I am your girlfriend. I still owe you about $200,000. "You're finally admitting to being my girlfriend." Erin nodded his head with satisfaction. "You can pay back the $1 million slowly, and don't worry, this lunch money won't be lumped together with your debts." Did she think that she didn't need to pay me back anymore now that she's my girlfriend? As if, Erin thought. He glanced over at April, who was still quiet. "I didn't pardon your $1 million debt because I knew that you wouldn't have wanted that. You are a prideful and independent person, and I didn't want to fight with you over this." Who said she wouldn't have to agree to that? She wasn't as altruistic and noble as he pictured her to be. "Mr. Bennett, is there some sort of misunderstanding? I would love to have a conversation about my debts," April thought. God knows how tiring it was to carry the burden of $1 million debt, and especially for an ordinary citizen like her. April was too embarrassed to bring the topic up after Erin said that. "Mr. Bennett, must you be my boyfriend?" April looked up at him after drawing a long breath. "If you're going to be such an easy catch, then I might not place too much importance in you." "What?" Erin thought he heard her wrong as he squinted his eyes. The atmosphere got a little tense. April shrugged sheepishly and recalled what he had said to her before. She said weakly, "I'm not attracted to men who throw themselves at me." He felt as if someone gave him a hard slap. He despised her for a long while before, and now it was her turn to pick on him. He was filthy rich. What was not attractive about that? After a couple of minutes, he rubbed the crease between his brows and smiled. "Fine. You like to go against the flow? I'm used to your tricks." April twitched. He really knew how to push her buttons. As she turned silent, Erin muttered sternly, "Don't push it, April." April pouted. She couldn't stand him, and never had she met anyone who forced her to be his girlfriend. When she handed over her meal card, he finally relaxed his expression. "Top up $20,000 for me," he said to the cashier. The cashier was stunned. "What?" He misspoke. He meant $100. April pulled Erin aside. "What are you doing? I'll never be able to finish the card value even if I eat here every day till I graduate. I already told Ryan Rodriguez earlier that I was going to top up $20,000 for you. I won't go back on my word. Not to my love rival. I'm going to put him in his place," Erin said with conviction. He didn't want to give other suitors a chance to help her top up her meal card, especially since his schedule wouldn't allow for him to spend lots of time with her. "You think I'm joking?" he continued. "Do I look like someone who likes to joke around?" April was speechless, but she wasn't going to let him get his way. "You can't waste money like that, no matter how rich you are. If you go through with this, then I'm not going to be grateful at all. In fact, I'll stop talking to you." Erin looked at her and burst into a light chuckle. "We've only just started dating, and you already want to control my finances. All right, since you're acting so coquettish, I'll do as you say." "When was I flirting with you?" April said incredulously. She was blushing a bright red. "I'm not trying to control your expenditure. I'm just telling you what I think is the right thing to do." Women like to say one thing and mean another, Erin thought. He was sure that her high-pitched intonations just now were her way of playing coy with him. "Fine. I'll heed your advice on how to spend money more sensibly, okay? Limited to the smaller things, of course. I'll still call the shots on the big-ticket items," Erin concluded. Episode 83. I'm not the jealous type, so you don't need to explain in detail. April sighed. Erin made her feel like they were going to get married soon. "Now tell me, how much should I put on your meal card? 100 isn't going to happen. It's way too little. 5,000? That's my biggest compromise. From now on, every time you come here to eat, don't forget to order some decent food." While speaking, Erin took out a blank card and said, "Gain some weight. I don't like you being too skinny." April opened her mouth but didn't manage to interrupt his speech. Didn't he say that he'll let me decide? Yet still, he's made the call himself. However, hearing him speak in a commanding tone, but one with concern, she felt sweet. Before every time she left home for school, her father would also tell her again and again to gain some weight. After topping up the meal card, April looked at her watch and then said, "You should go. I'm going to class." Erin glanced at her and said, "I'll walk you to your classroom." "To check out the guys in my class? Geez, Besides, I've been busy studying and working. I don't even get much time to hang out with my classmates. I'm not the jealous type, so you don't need to explain in detail. April was a little speechless. Aaron remained silent for a while, then said, "But I'll repeat this one more time. You're not allowed to call Ryan Rye again." Who just said that he's not the jealous type? April didn't even bother saying anything to him. "And you better stay away from the boys in your school. I'm not trying to control your life. I just found that nearly all the boys here have narrow and dirty minds," he added with a deep voice. "I didn't let you read the comments in the forum this morning, but I've read some myself. I didn't see any of your suitors supporting you. Instead, tons of people used bad and dirty language. How can these boys have so many unhealthy thoughts in their heads? When my friends and I were at their age, we were simple and honest." Simple and honest. April wanted to laugh. She had never seen anyone praise themselves while depreciating others. However, she admired him for being able to say it out loud. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "let me walk you to your car." "All right," he said. They walked through the woods. Earlier, April's head was muddled, but now her mind was clear. The sudden silence between her and Aaron made her feel a little awkward. About 4 or 5 minutes later, he held her hand. He was very healthy. His palm was thick and warm. The warmth coming from his palm surged to every corner of her body, making her face blush. "Mr. Bennett?" "What?" He turned to look at her. She was walking by his side, about shoulder height to him, even though she was relatively tall among the other girls. However, maybe because he was extra tall and strong, she looked tiny beside him. The sunlight poured down through the gaps between the leaves on her pretty, ruddy face. He wanted to hold her in arms, but since they just built a relationship, he decided to take things slow. He believed that she was only pretending to be cool. "My hand," April gritted her teeth, reminding him. Aaron raised their hands. Her hand was snow white, while his hand had a beautiful olive color. The colors of their skins were such a perfect match. This hand needs a ring," he said. April was speechless again. April was shocked, and she found it hard to keep up with his tempo. "I don't mean that, Mr. Bennett. What time do you finish school in the afternoon? Let's go pick out a ring for you at the mall." Aaron interrupted her. "I don't really want to head out tonight, Mr. Bennett," April said tiredly. "I only fell asleep at 2 a.m. in the morning and then got up at 7 a.m. I'm exhausted and I just want to catch some sleep." "All right, then I'll pick you up after school and you can sleep at the villa. What time do you finish school?" Aaron repeated his question. April sighed before she said, "Mr. Bennett, if you're bringing me home on the first night we get together, then I'm going to refuse to go out with you." Aaron's handsome expression took a double take. "Are you misunderstanding something? I'm taking you to the villa for you to catch some proper sleep. I'm not going to force you to sleep with me. You aren't as innocent as I thought, April." April was flushed red. It was true that she thought he meant otherwise. "No, I didn't." "Wow, your generation is quite different from mine. People of my age are more innocent and simple. But you have all sorts of lusty thoughts in that head of yours," Aaron concluded. "I do like some good teasing and playing coy, though. It's refreshing." By now, April was blushing from anger. "What's my generation and your generation? Aren't we only 6 years apart?" "You're right. 6 years is nothing," Aaron followed. "It was wrong of you to think that we'd be unsuitable for each other because of our age previously." April was speechless, and as their conversation continued, she felt like she was digging a deeper and deeper hole for herself. "Whatever, I'm not going to sleep at your place," April said. How naive did he think I was? The natural course after sleeping at the villa would be sleeping together in the same bed, April thought. "I'll rest in my own dormitory. If we're going to be in a relationship, then we have to take things slow. Another thing, Mr. Bennett, I hope you understand that my studies are my top priority as a university student." Aaron was a little miffed. He didn't expect himself to be outweighed by her studies, but he admired her for being ambitious and determined. "I've heard that you are the top student in your faculty." "Yep." "Is being number one very important to you?" "It's not the most important thing, I guess, but I'm used to putting in my best effort into everything I do. I've been that way since I was a kid." Aaron let out an approving smile and nodded. "Me too." You can imagine if the two of them got married, their kids would be perfect as well. How does he manage to fit in boastful comments about himself in every conversation? April thought. She pursed her lips and changed the topic quickly. "Oh, right. Sylvia said that you sent the fingerprints to the forensics team. Why didn't you tell me about it last night? How much did you spend?" "Nothing," I didn't run the tests, Aaron smirked. April was taken aback. You guys were lying? Aaron chuckled. You think they could have analyzed them within one night? Besides, by the time I met you two last night, it was well after hours. It wasn't urgent enough for me to request them to put aside their tasks at hand or call them back for overtime. And I'm not the mayor, you know? Episode 84. It was as if every cell in his body was shouting, "Compliment me." April knocked on her head. She used to think that she was smart, but now she felt she was silly. Sylvia and Aaron made it sound so real that all the others believed them. I don't think police officers can lie to people like that, can they? She asked. Nope. That's why I told Sylvia to pretend to not know us, Aaron explained. You don't have surveillance cameras in your hallway, and they insisted that someone witnessed you take the money, so it was quite difficult to prove your innocence. In order to end the whole thing as quickly as possible, we came up with that idea. Checking for fingerprints was just the first step, as they could still explain. We just wanted to freak them out, step by step, and make them tell the truth. We couldn't start from Riley, so we had to focus on Harry. So you don't have any proof today? Said April knowingly. Sylvia is amazing. Last year she didn't seem to be so reliable, but after watching her deal with the case earlier today, I think she could be a great lawyer or prosecutor. Earlier this year, her police station sent her to another province for training. She got some improvement. Aaron nodded and said, She's lacking good wrestling skills as a policewoman, so sometimes I worry about her. Therefore, I've been giving her quite some books about the public prosecutor examination recently. Hopefully she'll switch to another job. The rest of the family agrees with me. As for the idea today, that came from me. While speaking, he paused slightly and glanced at her. April felt as if every cell in his body was even shouting, Compliment me now. Yeah, in order to thank you, I've even given myself to you, she said. Hearing that, Aaron raised his eyebrows, then nodded with satisfaction. But when raising his head, he found that his car was right in front of him. He knitted his brows, wondering why couldn't this road be longer. Your school is tiny, he said. Tiny? April replied. You need to spend an entire hour to take a circle around school. Aaron stopped walking, fixed his eyes on her and said with a deep and charming voice, I don't know about that. I only know that we've walked to my car within a blink of an eye. April gave a start. Her face blushed when she realized what he meant and her heart began thumping. At that moment, he bent over and leaned his upper body forward. In her eyes, his handsome face was getting closer and closer to her. She even forgot to breathe until a feather-like kiss landed on her forehead. After that, she sighed slightly. She thought that he was going to kiss her. Are you disappointed? He smiled and said, I'll kiss you next time. We've been in haste today, but I don't want to scare you. I'm not disappointed, she mumbled. Women never say what they mean. I've been reading a book recently. The book says when a woman says no, she actually means yes, vice versa. April clenched her teeth. Mr. Bennett, she said, what kind of books have you been reading? Can you please stop reading it? I beg you. If you spend some more time with me, I'll quit reading it. I might continue reading it if I get bored staying alone with nothing to do. Aaron gave a smile. April sighed again. Aren't you running a public company? How can you have nothing to do as you run such a large company? I've earned too much money recently, so I plan to rest for a while, he said. April wanted to beat him. Mr. Bennett, if you stay longer, I might be late for my class. If he stayed longer, she might want to bite him. All right. Call me if anyone else tries to bully you. After saying that, Aaron got into the car and left. April watched him drive away cockily. She was still gathering her thoughts about her newfound boyfriend. Am I going to have someone to take care of me in this city from now on? She thought. She believed that he had the capability to accede to all her requests and deal with Isaac as well. But she didn't want him to find out about her past. She didn't want him to think of her father as a federal criminal. At 10:20 a.m., April hurriedly entered the mass media studies class conducted by Professor Wendy. Immediately as she set foot into the classroom, all eyes were on her. She walked bravely along the sides of the wall as people started pointing and whispering about her. She was used to it. Several boys who used to court her came up to her when she took her seat. April, the forum is filled with posts about your boyfriend. Is it true? I heard that he's a rich boy. Yeah. April remembered what Aaron said to her. It was true that she attracted many males around her, but when she was in trouble, none of them rendered her assistance. These boys, they wanted to put down what they couldn't have. So you've always had a boyfriend? Why didn't you tell us? Were you out to play with our feelings? One of the boys said suddenly. He was mocking her. April laughed coldly. Toying with your feelings? I've never flirted with you before, have I? You have a boyfriend but kept it from everyone, giving us false delusions. You're purposely leading us on, the boy accused her angrily. It's natural for pretty girls to have suitors. You're being extremely childish right now, blaming her for having a boyfriend after failing to gain her affection, Ryan appealed from behind. He swiftly lifted the boy by his collar and threw him to the side. Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you're famous now. The boy was livid. Look at you coming over to our faculty so frequently. I think you fancy April as well. Too bad you don't stand a chance. Don't you find it ridiculous being toyed around like that? Listen to how pathetic you sound. Ryan looked at the boy with contempt and raised his fist. Be careful about what you say next. I'm warning you right now. Leave her alone for good. The boy twisted his lips and walked away, huffing. Thank you. April gave him a bright smile. She can't imagine what it would be like if her name wasn't cleared from the thievery case. I thought you already left. You're quite free lately, aren't you? Been seeing you around quite frequently. I can't neglect my studies while juggling my job as an actor. The professors here don't care about how famous you are when it comes to grading your assignments. Ryan took the seat next to her and opened his textbook. Your boyfriend left already? The term boyfriend caught her off guard. Yeah, he left, she replied after a second. You're really seeing each other? Ryan looked at her meaningfully. Yes. Oh, I see, he said with disappointment. I thought he was just playing your boyfriend because of the theft. April was surprised. He called it accurately. Looks like I don't have a shot anymore. He shrugged his shoulders. I was planning to announce that I was chasing after you on the school forum when I heard about what happened. I thought I could vouch for your character, but I didn't want to invite more trouble for you. 5. Should I call him Benny like Richard does? April paused for a moment, then smiled and responded with, Yeah, you're a star. If you tell the others I'm your girlfriend, your fans would want to murder me. Perhaps they'll even dig up my past story. I thought the same thing too. Ryan was a little down. Does your boyfriend know about your past? April pressed her lips together and stayed silent. Only when the class bell started ringing did she say, Earlier today, outside the dorm building, you trusted me and you defended me. I'll never forget that. Don't mention it, we're friends. And I should be your only friend who knows your secret. Ryan winked at her. April gave a smile. It was nice to have a friend like him. After class, Winnie was back. She and April went to the canteen together for dinner. After ordering food, April offered to pay. Seeing the balance of April's meal card was $4,918. Winnie gave a start and said, Didn't you say that you're short of money recently? And you've been living on cheap food? Why did you order these expensive dishes and buy me dinner today? Have you gotten rich? April coughed slightly, then replied with a low voice, Aaron topped up my card. Winnie blinked with surprise, then said, You won't take advantage of someone unless he's really your boyfriend now? April didn't know what to say, but wished that Winnie didn't guess right. Seeing her remain silent, Winnie covered her own forehead with a hand and said, My God, I only left for a few days. Mr. Bennett is amazing. He's not amazing. He set a trap for me, said April. Well, he entrapped you anyway. Winnie chuckled and continued, But seriously, Mr. Bennett is so kind to you. Every time you were in trouble, he showed up like a hero. This time, if he didn't take care of Riley, you might be ruined for real. Even Professor Connor might not have been able to help you. Perhaps people will say that there's some kind of deal between you and Professor Connor, but now everything's fine. And he topped off your meal card. So jealous of you. Don't say that in front of Mr. Bennett, please. April couldn't even imagine how proud Aaron would be when he heard Winnie's words. Still, Mr. Bennett, you should call him a different name. Winnie naughtily winked at April. April paused. What should I call him? Should I call him Benny like Richard does? He might want to beat me if I do. She couldn't bear calling him a nickname that sounded way too intimate. She pondered for a while, but still wanted to call him Mr. Bennett. Your department should have a Christmas show as well. You have good grades. You were selected for the show, weren't you? April asked. Hearing her, Winnie dropped her eyes and said, There'll be a musical, but I only got 6 lines. Really? You're not ranked number 1? But your voice is known as the best in your department. April frowned with surprise. Well, the top 3 have to take part in the show, and some students with a background, Winnie sighed helplessly and said, Just eat. I have to work at the bar after dinner. Winnie, I've been wanting to tell you that kind of a place isn't safe. Why don't you find another job? Asked April. Winnie shrugged and said, The place I'm working at isn't like what you imagine. It's fancy and well managed. Normally, no one dares to start any trouble there. Besides, I need money for school. You know how much money we have to spend to study in an art school. My family doesn't want me to learn music. For that reason, I've fallen out with my family when I left home for school. I have to work because I don't have any other income sources. Your boyfriend didn't say he was going to help you out? Winnie frowned and said sternly, He's strapped for cash too. Besides, we're only dating and I don't expect him to share my financial burdens at the moment. Who knows how things will turn out? I'd rather we work hard together. April was quiet. Sometimes she saw how similar they were, and perhaps that was also the reason they could get along so well. After dinner, April returned to the dormitory. Before she could lie down, Annie and Marianne were back too. Marianne, how come you have time to come back today? April turned over to look at her friend. She was barely keeping her eyes open. I heard about what happened to you last night, and I wanted to check on you. Are you okay? Marianne said as she put down her bag around her shoulder. It's all over. Marianne and Annie had both called to comfort her in the morning before she cleared things up. She remembered the warmth they showed her. Annie picked up a glass of water and said, I can't believe how shameless Riley would have to be in order to do such a nasty thing while we were away. Did she really think that she was good enough to be the MC at the Christmas event? As if any media company would sign her on? Fat hope. The students and other faculties are also competing intensely for the limited spots at the Christmas event. Marianne broke into a sly smile. I also heard about your longtime boyfriend. How come none of us heard about this? What happened to our camaraderie? April smiled but kept quiet. Annie feigned annoyance and glared at her. I tell you everything. It's not very sisterly of you. Old rules apply, and whoever finds a boyfriend must treat everyone else to a meal. I'm not going to ask for too much. I'm okay with shark's fin and abalone. April felt awkward. Firstly, she had just started dating Aaron. Secondly, Marianne was his distant relative, like a younger sister. She wasn't even sure if they could handle his snide remarks. He always said the nastiest things about Marianne behind her back. Maybe. Give it some time, April said patronizingly. April, what exactly does your boyfriend do? Marianne was taking off her makeup. I saw a photo of a man holding your hand on the forum today, and he looked like a tall, handsome man from the back. He runs his own business, April managed to sputter out. She was forced into a relationship, and she didn't want to give too many details, so she continued, We actually just started seeing each other. I'll tell you guys more about him next time. Oh, I see. Marianne nodded her head and turned her gaze towards Annie. It's all your fault for losing your keys to the room. You have to be more careful next time. Let's get the lock changed in case something like this happens again. I know, I'm sorry, guys. Annie stuck out her tongue apologetically. Marianne, your birthday's coming up, isn't it? I remember it's on the 2nd next month. What gift do you want? Anything. My parents are planning to throw me a party at the villa this year, and I'll be inviting my relatives and some close friends. I need an MC as well, so... April, would you do me the favor? You take on gigs like this, don't you? That's right. April hosted a wedding banquet previously, and I was so impressed. She didn't have any prior experience at all, and she even dressed up like an old spinster because she didn't want to steal the limelight away from the bride. She did such a terrific job. April, you can go into many other fields if you choose not to do voice acting in the future, Annie said teasingly. 6. But I'm not thinking about you. I'm just thinking about breakfast. April stayed silent for a while, then smiled and said, If it's happening at your place, I can host it for you. But if you're going to a grand hotel, I don't think I can do it. I'm not a professional after all. You can't blame me if anything goes wrong. Aren't you going to host the Christmas show? Just think of it as practice. Marianne smilingly took out a pad of paper from her bag. That's, said April. The script of a musical? I'm starring in the musical that our department will stage at the Christmas show, said Marianne. April pressed her lips together without saying anything. Marianne was not as good as Winnie in many aspects, yet she became one of the leading actors of the musical. Sometimes backgrounds could mean everything. Fortunately, the broadcasting department wasn't as competitive as the music and acting department. But still, April couldn't accept all of this. Marianne had been signed as a singer and was releasing her first album, while Winnie hadn't even gotten a chance yet. Why didn't Marianne share a little bit more of her opportunity at the Christmas show? The next morning, April waited in line for breakfast in the canteen. What she liked the most about her university was their rich breakfast. Sometimes the people who lived nearby would sneak in to buy breakfast there. As she was thinking about what to eat for breakfast, her phone rang. She answered the call and asked, Who's calling? Haven't you saved my number yet? A man's grumpy voice was heard from the phone. April recognized that voice and hurriedly explained, You didn't tell me your number. You just added me on WeChat. I didn't. The grumpy voice became cold. Then why do I remember calling you at the beach last time? Didn't you keep my number? April didn't know what to say. Never mind. Back at that time, you probably didn't think that I'd be generous enough to forgive you for what you did. Aaron continued. Save my number now and memorize it. Memorize it? I don't think that's necessary, she said. It is necessary. That's how I'm different from the others. Besides, can't you memorize pretty much everything you read? He said. All right, it'll only take about 10 seconds anyway, she said. Mr. Bennett, why are you calling me? I'm waiting to buy breakfast. Do I have to have a reason to call you? Aaron was unhappy again. He felt that April lacked the self-awareness as his girlfriend. Never mind, he thought. She has probably never been in a relationship. I have no choice but to teach her step by step. You really are a foodie, he said. April was a little impatient, feeling that it was completely reasonable for women to love to eat. Mr. Bennett, why are you calling me for no reason? You didn't miss me, did you? How could that be possible? I worried that you might miss me. That's why I called you, he responded proudly. Yeah? April smiled at the food behind the show window. She said, I'm not thinking about you. I'm just thinking about breakfast. Aaron's face turned dark. This woman is so ungrateful. If I knew this, I wouldn't have put so much money in her meal card yesterday. I wonder how she would eat without my money. You're lying. You remember what I told you yesterday, don't you? He asked. Hearing him, April remembered that Aaron was reading some kind of book which said that when women say no, they actually meant yes. So she hurriedly changed her tone and said, I was trying to say that I did miss you. You miss me? Then shall I send myself to you now? Aaron abruptly chuckled with a deep voice. April wanted to bite her own tongue off. Forget it. I can never be as shameless as he is. Hey, miss, you gonna buy breakfast or not? Please step aside if you're not gonna buy anything. There's a long queue behind you, the canteen lady said with annoyance as she waved the ladle. Yes, April said. I'll have the mixed grain porridge, sweet potato fries, an egg, 2 pieces of bacon, and a pancake. Oh, and throw in a slice of cake. On the other end of the phone, Aaron looked at his own breakfast before him. He was having a croissant, a sunny-side-up egg, a portion of fruit, and a glass of milk. Although he already knew that April was a glutton, he never realized the extent of her appetite. You are a true glutton, he concluded. You told me to feed myself well yesterday. April tucked her phone between her ear and shoulder as she carried the tray of food to a table. Annie looked at her mountain of food and exclaimed, Wow, Rill, you really ordered a lot of things today. You usually scrimp and save at mealtimes. April was nervous, as Aaron must have heard that. Is it because I topped up your meal card? Aaron smirked. He found it extremely satisfying that his woman was spending his money. So this is why men work so hard to bring home the bacon. Eat. I'll top up your card when it runs out. I have loads of money. Oh, right, and I prohibit your roommate from calling you Rill from now on. Only I can call you a nickname, Apricot, he said bossily. April whispered over the phone. She's been calling me that for so long, I can't just ask her to stop. You can. What an unreasonable man. What are you doing right now? April shifted his attention. I'm having breakfast. Aaron paused before continuing. It's so boring eating alone. I want to have breakfast with you. April was shocked to hear something so affectionate coming from someone who was usually full of snide remarks. She choked on her porridge, and before she could respond, she was already blushing. If Annie wasn't sitting next to her, then she would have told Aaron to give her a heads up the next time he was going to sweet talk to her. She continued to catch her breath after a coughing fit. Why aren't you speaking? The voice on the other end said. She had no reaction after he said such mushy words. My roommates are all here, April whispered. Let's talk later. All right, let's text then, he said. You'll have to respond to what I just said. She was probably too shy to sweet talk to him with all her roommates around her, thought Aaron. With that, he hung up. April was speechless. She told him that they'll talk later, but how did that translate to texting? After pondering hard about what to say, she texted him. You want to eat with me, but I don't want to eat with you. You were the one who compared me to an animal whenever we had meals together. She remembered all the things he said to her before and all the things he did. At the Bennett mansion, Aaron frowned at her response. What a petty woman. He hastily replied, I'll never say that again. He thought about it and decided to get a second opinion. He called Sister Emily over. Tell me, How should I reply to her so that I sound like a sweet and thoughtful man? Sister Emily was shocked, and the pot she was holding in her hand shook as she recalled the conversations between Aaron and April in the past. Young master, are you planning to get together with April? She finally asked. Episode 87. You're a happy little piglet in my eyes. Sister Emily said with surprise, This is finally happening. I thought you two had a chance, but Riley wouldn't believe me. What do you mean? Aaron asked. You knew about her real age long ago, didn't you? Sister Emily flinched and responded with, She told me not to tell you. She said that people think older carers are more experienced. Her life wasn't easy, so I kept her secret. You've worked here for years, yet you lied to me for her. I might have to deduct half your monthly wage, said Aaron frowningly. Sister Emily's chubby face turned sour, as half of her monthly wage wasn't a small amount of money to lose. Unless you make it up to me. Aaron sat straight and slightly raised his eyebrows. From now on, you should contact April more often. Tell her that you miss her and invite her here. Remember, be natural. Don't act like I'm telling you to do so. Sister Emily nodded carefully. Now tell me, how should I reply to her message? He pointed at his phone and said, Type for me. Sister Emily picked up the phone. She spent a while thinking hard, then slowly put in a line. Before, I was trying to say that you were like a happy little piglet in my eyes, followed by a series of heart emojis. Aaron took the phone and glanced at the line. His face blushed. He glanced at Sister Emily meaningfully and then said, Sister Emily, I didn't know that you could be a little girl on the inside. Sister Emily's chubby face blushed. Aaron sent the message to April. 1 minute passed and she didn't reply. 5 minutes passed and she still didn't reply. He called Sister Emily with discontent and asked her, Why didn't she reply? Is the message not good enough? Sister Emily wanted to cry, but failed to shed any tears. She was a cook, but she also needed to help her young master deal with his relationship with his girlfriend. Young master, I think Rill is feeling shy. If I was her, I'd feel shy when suddenly receiving your sweet words. Is she? Aaron nodded seriously after hearing Sister Emily. April would have rosy cheeks when she felt shy. He wanted very much to go and see her with his own eyes, but sadly, he couldn't disturb her as she had class. In the computer room, April sat down. Her phone rang again as soon as she sat down. Seeing Mr. Bennett flash on the screen of her phone, her heart missed a beat. As more and more classmates turned to her, she answered the phone and said, Mr. Bennett, my class is beginning. Don't try to fool me. I saw your schedule yesterday in your dorm. Your class doesn't start for 5 minutes. The corners of April's mouth twitched slightly. No wonder he was staring at her schedule back in her dorm yesterday. As a capitalist, he was farsighted indeed. Why didn't you reply to my message on WeChat? After checking his phone over and over again, Aaron couldn't help but call April again on his way to the company. Thinking about that message, April blushed scarlet. Earlier during breakfast, she read that message and even dropped her phone on the table out of surprise. Was that message sent by you? Any problem? I thought your phone was hacked. That didn't sound like something you would say, Mr. Bennett. The series of heart emojis shocked her so much that she couldn't even bear to reply to the message. Things were natural when she was with Isaac, but with Aaron, she often felt a little strange. But of course, it was mostly because she hadn't yet completely accepted the fact that she now had a boyfriend who was narcissistic, proud, and sometimes evil. April and Aaron were arguing over the phone. Did I? Yeah, you used to so often attack me with your words. I never meant to hurt you, Aaron replied meaningfully. I just let out the truth by mistake. Can you please not blurt out the truth so frequently? April thought. But if you don't like the way I spoke to you in the past, then I will change. I will only shower you with words of affirmation from now on, he said. April felt a gush of warmth wash over her heart as she mulled over what he had just promised. Her cheeks were hot and red. Did he have to be so cheesy? She had classes later. How was she supposed to concentrate now? I know you're going to stay at the library till 4:20 p.m. today. I'll come pick you up after. Don't reject me again. I'll leave you alone for now. Have a good time at your lessons. Bye. After the call ended, April was overwhelmed with thoughts and emotions. As she opened her laptop, she found it hard to concentrate on the screen before her. And that's why people warn against dating while you're studying. No matter how hard you try, you'll still be distracted, April thought. At 4 p.m. when she left the library, April received a call from Professor Connor. April, come to my house. I need to talk to you about something. Okay. Professor Connor usually never talked to her over the phone, so it must be something important if he asked her to make a trip down. She had to call Aaron to tell him to wait for her. At Professor Connor's place, she took off her shoes to see that both Professor Connor and producer Sullivan greeted her in the living room. She had figured out what Professor Connor had wanted to talk to her about. It had been a while since she went to find Rosaria, and she thought that there might be a chance that Rosaria chose to let the matter go. She thought too naively. "April, you haven't been taking my calls. I had no choice but to come to Professor Connor," producer Sullivan said disappointedly. "You promised me that when you were going to come up with a solution for the mess you made, but I found that you ended up offending more people. At first, I didn't know who you offended, but I recently found out that Isaac went around the entertainment industry and warned people against hiring you. So I guess that he was the one that you offended. The web drama is now on hold in the process of selection and approval. If I still can't sell the project, then I'll really be pushed to the edge along with the other directors. We'll have to jump off a building with our mountainous debts." Professor Connor looked at April helplessly. "I know you're in a difficult position, but I was the one who introduced you to producer Sullivan." April felt a chill over her entire body. "I'm the one that implicated you all, and I really wish that I could help, but while I was there, Isaac was obviously just making a fool out of me." Producer Sullivan looked at her. "Actually, given how pretty you are, if a man creates trouble for you, he just—" "All right, old Sullivan, you shouldn't say these things to April," Professor Connor interrupted him. "Do you have a better solution then?" Producer Sullivan was anxious. "Connor, I employed her because you were the one who recommended her to me. Are you really going to watch me jump off the building?" Professor Connor looked down in guilt. April bit on her bottom lip. It was all her fault that Professor Connor was implicated in this matter. "Producer Sullivan, if I may ask, how much debt will you be in if you can broadcast the show?" The professor raised his brows. "April, you can't be planning to pay off debts on his behalf. It's not a small sum, you know. It's $30 million. If I could help you at all, then I would only be able to fork out $5 million at the most." April was quiet. She didn't even have $3,000 in her bank account. Episode 88. He hadn't been stirred like this in a long time. Of course, she could borrow money from Aaron. However, he was a little hyper, so April wasn't sure what he would think of her if she asked to borrow that much money from him. After all, they had just built a relationship. Currently, their relationship was based on equal footing, but if he lent her money, she might feel that she was a grade lower than him. Besides, Aaron had never told her that he liked her. Perhaps he was just driven by his pride, and he wanted to be with her only because she had rejected him. Even though her relationship with Aaron started suddenly and inexplicably, Aaron didn't want it to be dirtied by money. A while later, April made up her mind and said, "Professor Connor, don't worry about me. I'll go beg Isaac." No matter how, she couldn't put Professor Connor, who had helped her so much, in a difficult situation. Supervisor Sullivan agreed immediately. "Just back down. We have no choice. No one in the film and industry circle has the guts to go against Isaac. I'm telling you the truth. As long as you still want a place in this circle, you need to get through this." April remained silent. Supervisor Sullivan was right. She couldn't keep ignoring this problem. It was after 5 o'clock when she returned to school. Aaron was pacing under the pine tree before the school gate, hands resting in pockets. He was tall, strong, and handsome, but his entire body radiated a coldness. Therefore, even though he was very attractive, the girls passing by only occasionally glanced at him, and none dared accost him. April ran to him with a guilty feeling, saying, "Sorry, my professor had something to talk to me about. I didn't think it would take so long." "I've waited for you for 50 minutes. Aaron tapped his expensive watch with his brows knitted. "No one has ever kept me waiting so long. You're the first one." My bad. April wouldn't stop nodding. "But since I'm your girlfriend now, isn't it reasonable for you to wait for me?" Hearing her say the word girlfriend, Aaron felt slightly better. However, he was still angry. "It's just the first day, yet you're already exercising your right as a girlfriend, aren't you?" "Yeah. You've rented yourself to me as my boyfriend, and you're unreturnable. Since it's become a real thing, of course I'm exercising this right." April was a little out of breath because of the running, and her cheeks were rosy. The light of the falling sun poured on her entire body. Her long eyelashes flapped like a pair of tiny hand fans. Aaron narrowed his eyes, then abruptly held her face with both hands. What do you want?" April was startled. "You've exercised your girlfriend's right, so I should exercise my boyfriend's right as well." Aaron lowered his hand to kiss her lips. However, he didn't manage to kiss her lips, just the back of her hands. "What are you doing?" Aaron frowned. April smilingly dragged his hands off her face and said, "Mr. Bennett, have you heard people say that you'll always get stirred by what you can't get?" Aaron didn't respond. He didn't know who had said that, but he did feel so. He was stirred right now, and he hadn't been stirred like this in a long time. The smiling, beautiful woman in front of him was a lot younger than him, yet he felt that she was amazing. No wonder he fell into her trap step by step. She was cruelly tantalizing him. I was right. She is trying everything she can to entrap me. After a while, Aaron narrowed his eyes and smiled slyly. I get it now. You were trying to stir me up when you first rejected me, weren't you? April looked at him in shock. Why did he bring up the past again? No. Forget it. I only have myself to blame for being tempted so easily, falling for your trap, Aaron remarked. No wonder my mother said that girls nowadays were full of fresh tricks, different from the vixens from her time. April wished that she could take back her words. She knew that he liked to twist words and live in his own imagination. She should have been more careful with what she said. Mr. Bennet, there are still many vixens in our time. Yeah, you are my little vixen, my little apricot, April said and grabbed her hand. April stared into the handsome face. She thought there must be something wrong with her. Her heart was beating rapidly and she could feel flutters in her stomach after hearing the words of this narcissist. People do turn a little strange after hanging out with a strange person for too long, April thought. Mr. Bennet, where's your car? Where did you park? April's best coping mechanism was to just change the topic before he could kill the conversation. There's no parking space available here, so I parked at the back about 5 minutes away. April was surprised and exclaimed, I didn't expect someone as obnoxious as you to obey traffic laws. Nonsense. I'm not an obnoxious guy, Aaron said defensively. April felt something uncomfortable in her throat. Aaron pulled her along and continued, Obnoxious is used to describe an unreasonable person. Have I ever been unreasonable before? Every time I act out, I deal with people who need to be taught a lesson. April nodded her head in contemplation. He was right. She had never seen him abuse his authority before, except with Mr. Lennox at that celeb party. Of course I must abide by traffic rules. Aaron pursed his lips and lowered his gaze. I had a buddy in the army who got injured in a mission after being posted to the ancillary police force. On his way to the hospital, there was a terrible traffic jam and the ambulance was stuck in the middle of heavy traffic. The traffic police couldn't clear the path in time and hence he couldn't get to medical help in time. April was shocked. Her throat felt dry and she didn't know what to say. I had another comrade who became a fireman after he was posted out. Aaron took a brief pause before continuing. He told me that 90% of the times they were on an emergency run, they were delayed by traffic jams. Time for these firemen is extremely crucial. Every second counts, and it translates into the number of lives they could save. We shouldn't park our cars haphazardly and inconvenience others, no matter how busy we are. April agreed. She was impressed with what he just said. It was rare for the rich and the privileged to show public consideration and consciousness, and to abide by traffic laws and protect the environment. For Aaron to have such upright principles, he must have been brought up well by his parents. She thought about the men she had encountered before in the past. So few of them had admirable principles like he did. Episode 89. I guess Sister Emily only knows that I have a good appetite for tofu and cabbage. Mr. Bennet, you have a lot of army friends. Last time I heard from Marvin that Richard was a gift from an army friend of yours. Hearing April mentioning that man, Aaron frowned slightly. But soon he chuckled and responded, Already trying to know about my friends? You haven't even known me well enough yet. Be patient. I know you're doing all of this for me. Sooner or later you'll get to meet my friends. April didn't say anything, but felt like beating him. After 5 minutes of walking, April saw a giant off-road vehicle parked under a tree. She got in the car, buckled up, then glanced at the back seat and asked, Didn't you bring Richard? No. As he had successfully made her sit by his side willingly, he couldn't think of a reason to bring the dog again. You'll see him later, and Sister Emily, he said. You're not taking me to the villa for a meal, are you? The corner of April's mouth twitched slightly as she felt a little uncomfortable. Yeah, the food outside isn't hygienic. He glanced at her, then started the car. It's clean and safe to eat at home. Didn't you always say that you like Sister Emily's food the most? Earlier I called her and told her that I'd bring you back for dinner. She's happy about it. After the call, she went to the market to buy the vegetables that you like. You see, how can you disappoint her? Does Sister Emily know what I like? April rubbed her own forehead and said sarcastically, Thanks to you, we used to eat your leftovers. I guess Sister Emily only knows that I have a good appetite for tofu and cabbage. I was troubled by my physical inconvenience at that time, so I was often in a bad mood, Erin explained. So you'll make people live on tofu and cabbage when you're unhappy. Got it, April said knowingly. Back then, Richard could eat beef noodles while I was only allowed to watch him. That part of my life remains fresh in my memory. Erin frowned slightly. This woman can really bear grudges. She's even mentioning something happened so long ago. I can see you're quite unhappy about it. Should I make Richard watch you eat tonight? He asked. April was speechless. That's a deal then. You can do whatever you want to Richard tonight, and I won't mind. After all, Richard can't be compared with you. He smiled. Then he looked forward and said, All right, don't disturb me. I need to focus on driving. Looking at his perfect side profile, April cursed him in her head over and over again. I don't want Richard to watch me eat. Richard didn't bully me back then. You did. So shameless. The more she thought about that, the unhappier she was. At last, she said grumpily, I don't want to have dinner in your mansion. It's too far away. I need to come back at night. I didn't say that you can't come back. What are you thinking about? Erin kept looking straight ahead and said, I just want to have dinner together with you somewhere quiet. Don't overthink. And Sister Emily really misses you. You saw her yesterday. Don't you feel that she has lost some weight? She told me that it's because you're not with her and she's not used to it yet. April remembered the days she spent with Sister Emily and felt that she was truly a nice person. Before, Sister Emily always sneakily saved good food for her. However, recalling Sister Emily yesterday, April's face darkened slightly. I don't think Sister Emily has lost weight. She looked just the same as before, she said. She did lose weight. She told me that herself, Erin said. Maybe you just can't tell. April pressed her lips together. She didn't say anything, but started paying attention to her phone instead. At 6 o'clock, the car drove into the villa. The villa was lit up. Derek was playing with Richard in the front lawn. When they pulled closer to the front door, Richard ran over to them clumsily. April bent over and scratched Richard's head affectionately. Erin grinned in the background and asked Derek, Is dinner ready? Derek looked at April and said, Something happened to Sister Emily's grandson. She took a call and headed out in a hurry. Oh, really? Oh, dear. Erin frowned. He turned and looked at April. I didn't expect that to happen. April was puzzled. Shouldn't he show some concern for Sister Emily's family? His expression was now disappointing. Derek, is everything okay with her grandson? What happened to him? April asked. Derek looked taken aback and scratched his ears. I think he got injured after getting into a fight. He must be hurt quite badly for his grandma to rush over like this. April nodded her head in worry. Should I drop by and send my regards? Maybe I can get them a fruit basket or something. Forget about that. You don't even have money for yourself. I'll get them something. Erin pulled her towards the villa. We probably can't eat out tonight because most of the fancy restaurants would be fully booked by now. I don't trust the hygiene standards of any other restaurants. I guess you have no choice but to cook us dinner. April stopped short in her tracks. Mr. Bennett, why must I cook us dinner? I'm no longer your nanny. I'm your girlfriend now. As your girlfriend, this is the first time I'm coming over for a meal and you're asking me to cook for you? Shouldn't you cook for me? I can't cook, Erin said matter-of-factly. But you said that my food wasn't good in the past. April raised her brows. Erin tried his best to remain calm and collected. I wasn't physically well then, and I couldn't move around by myself, so my appetite affected as well. On hindsight, I think you did a good job catering to my preferences. Your appetite was affected? He wiped the bowls clean after every meal, April thought. No one could beat him at being shameless. It's okay. I can teach you how to cook. April didn't want to spoil him in case he got used to it. Erin took a double take. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. He told Sister Emily to make something up to leave them alone. He had wanted to taste her food, and it had been quite a while after all. He didn't tell her straight to her face because he thought that she would refuse right away. All men know how to cook now. April batted her eyelids at him. Men who can't cook are eliminated from the eligible pool. You're talking about ordinary men, but I am different. I have a cook, servants, and butlers. There's no need for me to pick up culinary skills, Erin said casually. He hated the oil and grease of the kitchen. Oh, really? I've seen plenty of rich and successful men who are also great in the kitchen. It's not that they can't afford to cook for themselves, but they do it for the fun of it, and to pamper their wives or girlfriends. April shrugged her shoulders. Of course, we can forget about it if you really don't care about cooking. We can go to those restaurants that you deem unqualified, or maybe we can get Derek to buy us some cup noodles. Episode 90. Apricot, you're the master of flirting. As April vehemently refused to cook, Aaron knitted his brows. No wonder people say that women are only attentive when pursuing men. Now that I've become her boyfriend, she won't cherish me anymore. A while later, he said with a low voice, "All right, I'll cook." He was so bad at self-control and let himself get bagged by her so easily. He considered it his own fault. April put the apron on him by herself, then stood beside him to teach him while peeling grapes. Aaron turned back to watch her peeling grapes. He thought she'd put the peeled grapes in his mouth, but to his surprise, all the grapes disappeared into her pink lips. "Don't you think it's awful to eat alone?" "Oh, all right." April gave a smile, then put a peeled grape near his mouth. He opened his mouth to bite it, but then she abruptly pulled her hand back and put the grape into her own mouth. Aaron could scarcely believe what had just happened. It was the first time in his life he had gotten tricked by someone. "Apricot." "I had a second thought," she responded. "Why should I peel grapes for you? I'm not your carer anymore." She batted her dark and bright eyes, smiling like a fox. Aaron wanted to get mad, but somehow he felt that the naughty April looked extremely adorable. When she was his carer, she was always serious and quiet, so he had hardly seen her act like this. He wanted to hold her in his arms and give her a big kiss. As he was in a daze, the oil popped loudly in the pot and splashed on his face, making his handsome face twist in pain. April hurriedly turned down the heat and asked him, "Are you all right?" The pain was nothing to Aaron, as he was a former Special Forces soldier. However, when seeing the concern in her eyes, he automatically knitted his brows and said, "My face hurts. Let me see." April stood on her tiptoes, held his face in her hands, finding a large red area on his right cheek. She said, "What can I say? You've injured your face when cooking." Aaron fixed his eyes on her face without blinking. From such a short distance, her forehead looked smooth, her nose was straight and pretty, and her lips were pink and moisturized. Her bright eyes reflected his face, making his heart thump. Without thinking, he lowered his head and gave her a kiss. April gave a start, then raised her head to look at his dark eyes. Her heart missed a beat. A while later, she bit her own lips, which had turned burning hot after being kissed by him, and said, "Mr. Bennett, how could you do that without my permission?" "I was stirred just now," Aaron replied with an innocent tone. "No, you're the master of flirting." April didn't even know what to say, as she felt like going a little crazy. She didn't understand who was flirting with who. "When did I flirt with you? I was just checking your face," she said. "I don't know. Perhaps I saw that you cared so much about me, so I wanted to kiss you." Aaron smiled and added, "You looked beautiful just now." April blushed, and she couldn't calm herself down. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "go apply some medicine to your face. I'll cook." She believed that she was wrong for letting him cook. "No, I discovered that I love cooking." Aaron picked up the pot and said, "Tell me, what should I do next?" April rubbed her own head, then continued teaching him. Sadly, he wasn't cut out for cooking. He was burned with hot oil for a few more times, and the 2 plates of food he made were both burned and black. At last, she seized the pot from his hand and pushed him out of the kitchen. At 7 o'clock, April brought all the dishes out to the table. There was only the sound of television playing in the background. Aaron got up from the couch and walked towards the lawn. April found it strange and proceeded to set the table. By the time she was done, Aaron brought Ziasi over to the dining room and ordered, "Sit here and watch Lulo eat." "See, I'm helping you teach him a lesson." Aaron looked at her. "Mr. Bennett, is it really necessary to bully a dog like this?" April rolled her eyes. "Ziasi only listens to you anyway." "No, but he's super rebellious and doesn't even obey my commands." April wanted to laugh at him lying through his teeth, but she pitied Ziasu too. "Ignore him, Ziasu. I'll fix you up something good." April picked up a piece of pork rib and placed it into the dog bowl. Jiasu wagged his tail happily and took a bite of the pork rib. April was swooning over Jiasi as she watched him eat her food with bliss. Just as she was about to take another pork rib for Jiasi, Aaron slid the plate away from her. "This would be mine, so feed Jiasi this instead." He pushed his plate of black terry chicken towards her. "You should eat what you made yourself." April was speechless. "It's no good." Aaron shook his head. April was lamenting in her mind about how he was being honest for once before saying out loud, "Well, we finally found an imperfection in your entire being." "Yep, and now I'm befitting of imperfect, you aren't I? I do have some flaws, just to keep things down to earth." Aaron ran his index finger along his lower lip in amusement. April glared at him angrily before deciding to ignore him and focus on her dinner. Aaron picked up his chopsticks, started eating her food, and it was delicious. He hadn't had it for a long while, and he missed the taste of her food dearly. He could eat this for the rest of his life. As he munched on, he found the atmosphere uncomfortably quiet. He quickly realized that April wasn't even looking at him anymore. "What's the matter with you?" "I don't speak at mealtimes. It's basic table manners," April replied to him coldly. Aaron frowned and kept quiet, but he slowly shifted his chair closer to hers and whispered, "My cheeks are fiery hot and it stings." April gave him a side glance and said sympathetically, "I thought I told you to put some ointment on. Where's Derek?" "I told him that we were going to have some private time. He's out in the backyard, and I don't know where he puts the ointment." Private time sounded a tad too scandalous and made April blush a little, so she stood up and said, "Sister Emily used to keep it beneath the wine cabinet. Let me go check." After a moment, she found the ointment exactly where she had predicted. She threw the ointment for burns at Aaron. "Rub it on yourself." "I can't see my face." "Use the mirror in the toilet." Aaron stayed where he was and said with a chuckle, "Lulu, are you afraid that I would kiss you again without your permission if you come too close to me?" He said exactly what was on her mind, and she couldn't help but blush and say, "So long as you know." "Lulu, I won't kiss you. Come help me put on the ointment." Aaron shoved the tube of medication into her hands. April locked her eyes onto his dark pupils, and she felt her heart flutter. She had never felt this way before when she was with Yi Jing previously. He was more arrogant than Yi Jing, but Aaron was... "All right, but if you break your promise, then I'll ignore you for a week," April said as she unboxed the ointment. A sparkly object rolled out of the box and landed on the floor with a ding. Episode 91. Even though you're just my girlfriend, I want to give you all the best. "What is it?" April walked over and asked. When she saw it clearly, she paused for 2 seconds, then bent over and picked it up. It was a dazzling diamond ring with a pink stone in the center, surrounded by 2 rings of small diamonds. "Do you like it?" She heard his voice as deep as a cello. "As I said, your hands need a ring," he said. April stared at the ring for quite a while until he lost patience and picked up the ring to put it on her finger. "Mr. Bennett?" She flinched and said, "You only wear a ring on that finger when you get married or engaged." She remembered that once a man had kneeled on one knee and put a ring on her finger. She thought that she would be with him for the rest of her life, yet in the end, he took everything away from her. For a moment, she was in a trance. "Yeah?" Aaron paused. He raised his head to look at her, then asked, "Do you want to marry me?" "What?" "If you're not thinking about marrying me, why are you staring at your ring finger? Didn't you say that people only wear rings on that finger when they get married or engaged?" Aaron smiled proudly. "Don't think that far yet. Let's do it step by step." "I wasn't thinking about marrying you," she said. "I was thinking about something else." "What can you possibly think when you're with me?" Aaron's face suddenly darkened. "You're not thinking about other men, are you? Who is he? Ryan Rodriguez?" April didn't know how to respond. "I'm not good then." Aaron nodded and fixed his dark eyes on her. "I'm not a narrow-minded person, but you can only think about me when you're with me. You can't think about other men or women. Well, except your mother." April honestly didn't know how to continue this conversation. "Since you can't wear it on this finger, just wear it on your middle finger." Aaron took the ring off her finger to put it on her middle finger. However, before the ring was put onto her finger, she drew back her hand. "Mr. Bennett, this ring is too expensive. We just started this relationship not long ago, so I don't think it's appropriate for you to give me this now." "It's not expensive, just about 100,000. I thought of your concerns. I don't mind its price, but I worried that you might feel pressure. Therefore, I chose a cheap one. 100,000? A cheap one? I really don't understand the world of rich people. Mr. Bennet, if I wear this in class, I'll catch so much attention. April tried again. The ring might be inexpensive to him, but to her it was way too valuable. So what? Don't all your schoolmates know that you now have a tall, handsome, and rich boyfriend? Erin held her hands tight, slightly opened his sexy mouth, and said, April, even though you're only my girlfriend now, I still want to give you all of the best. Almost all the women in the world would be touched by what he just said. April's heart thumped. She raised her head to look at him. Under the lamplight, his handsome face had a faint and warm yellow color. Even his eyes, which had become cold and sharp for the business world, now looked scorching hot. In terms of appearance, he was spotlessly handsome. Regarding his demeanor, he was excellent. He had lots of shortcomings too, and often made people want to laugh and cry at the same time. Sometimes April even wanted to stitch his lips together. However, he showed up many times when she was in trouble or danger. Maybe he hadn't realized that yet, but he always made her feel cared for. He kept her sheltered and protected. Perhaps if she hadn't met Isaac, she would never have been touched by a man like Aaron. But it was her toxic relationship with Isaac that taught her to value qualities like honesty and transparency in a man. Aaron examined her expression. She looked stunned and in deep contemplation. He drew closer to her face, and April could smell the mint in his breath. The oxygen around them became scarce. April's brains were in a mush, and she slowly closed her eyes. Aaron's heart was thumping like a rabbit as he stared hard at her plump lips. He still remembered how magical it was to kiss her last time, but just as he drew closer and closer, a loud thump pounded on the door. Richard's loud voice rang through the doorway. Little Benny, have you eaten? I'm here to visit you. I heard that you stopped going out of the house to have fun after being rejected by Rail. What dating books are you cooped up with at home anyway? April was jolted back to reality and pushed Aaron away. Aaron's face was clouded with dark lines as he watched the atmosphere shatter before his eyes. Richard entered the living room and looked at them both. Aaron and April were standing at arm's length now, and his brother looked tense. Aaron glared at him with a piercing gaze. The girl next to Aaron was wearing denim jeans and a pastel blue sweater. She had her hair up in a loose bun and was exuding elegance and beauty just standing there. He paused before saying elaborately, Excuse me, my beautiful lady, please don't misunderstand. Rill isn't a person. If I'm not a person, then what am I? April turned around and faced him. Richard's jaw dropped and hurriedly regained his composure. You're a beauty, a great beauty. Rill, I didn't realize how young and beautiful you were. I must have had poor vision or something. If I had seen it before, I would have courted you myself. Are you with little Benny already? Maybe you can consider me. I'm much more outstanding than he is. Scram! Aaron blocked his advancing footsteps and put an arm around April's shoulders. She's my girlfriend now. No way, Rill. You boarded the pirate ship so quickly? Richard looked extremely disappointed. How could you forget all the hardships you went through when you were taking care of Benny? He was so mean to you. Shut up! Aaron glared at him again. He wanted to tear Richard up into a million pieces. Richard had ruined his perfect moment with April, and now he had his eyes on his girlfriend. What exactly are you here for? I have a girlfriend now, and I don't have time to fool around with you. You should take your leave promptly. Aaron held back a smile. The two of them were truly frenemies, and they detested one another. You're so cold and heartless. How could you forget me after getting a girlfriend? Richard had decided to walk towards the dining table to inspect the dishes. Did you make these, Rill? I haven't tasted your cooking in so long. I shall have my dinner here since I haven't had the chance to eat yet. He helped himself with the rice and sat himself down and started digging in. Aaron's face was distorted with anger since he had put a great deal of effort to get April to cook for him. The food was limited already, and there he was gorging himself on the food before him. Oh, right. What did you say about dating manuals before? April asked. Aaron froze. Did he say anything about that? I didn't hear him say anything about dating manuals. Did you mishear something? April remained silent but continued to stare at him as he froze up. Richard looked at the both of them as he continued eating. It was rare for him to see his best friend freeze in embarrassment like that. He was intrigued and excited to see more of what was to come. Episode 92. Have you been reading the guides on sweet talking at home? Richard chuckled and continued, Benny, why did you deny? Because for real, you've been learning how to sweet talk for days. I think you've learned something useful, right? Otherwise, how did you manage to suddenly turn her into your girlfriend? Enough. Aaron threw a threatening glance at Richard. Face blushed a deep pink. He seemed quite unoccupied. I'll talk to Manager Nelson. You should go to Africa to do that marketing research. No, I'm sorry. I suddenly remembered that I still have tons of files to read at home. I'm leaving. After that, Richard hurriedly stuffed his mouth with rice and 2 pieces of ribs, then waved at April while chewing. Really? Come to the company someday. We can hang out. Bye, he said. After Richard left, the dining room quieted down. Aaron sat down and said, You're my girlfriend. If you want to hang out, you should find me. Why would you want to hang out with him? Let's eat. The food is getting cold. April looked at him, smiling with her eyes. Have you been reading guides on sweet talking at home? She asked. Choking on rice, Aaron coughed and showed an embarrassed expression. How can you believe Richard's words? April quietly looked at the embarrassed Aaron and felt that he was quite adorable. No wonder he had said such flirtatious words these days. I don't believe him, she said. How could you possibly read the guides of sweet talk? You should be reading the guides of how to entrap a girl. Aaron didn't respond. He had been studying hard every day, and he was certainly not reading guides on how to entrap a girl. He was a little unhappy, yet he couldn't explain why. And nothing happened to Sister Emily's grandson, right? You asked her to find an excuse to leave because you wanted me to cook for you, she continued. Aaron forced a smile and said, You have a good imagination. Sister Emily's food is much more delicious than yours, so why would I need you to cook for me? Mr. Bennet, dishonesty is a disease. You should find a cure for it, said April in a gentle voice. If you really prefer Sister Emily's food, I won't set foot in the kitchen next time. Aaron wanted to bite his tongue off, as this wasn't quite like how he had imagined. What do you say? April raised her eyes and continued. Actually, there's nothing wrong in frankly telling people about how you feel sometimes. If you don't tell me, and I can't guess right, I'll never be able to know you. Aaron kept his lips pressed together for a while, then said in a muffled voice, I wanted the food you made, but I worried that you might not want to come here. So I thought of an excuse to make you come here first, okay? While he was speaking, his ears turned rosy. Once he was done talking, he glared at April, then started gobbling down his food. Seeing the embarrassing look on his face, April gave a satisfied smile. He really is like a little boy. Now I know why people always say that men can be childish sometimes. She felt quite good at the moment. It was a rare chance to see him be like this, so she felt like she had finally paid her revenge. Nice, she said to herself. Aaron spent a while eating, then raised his head and said to her, Now that I've told you how I feel, when you have time, will you come here more often to cook for me? As the old saying goes, if you want a man's heart, you need to win his stomach first. No, I'm busy. April shook her head and replied, I already have your stomach, so why would I want your heart? Aaron didn't know what to say. He was nearly 30 years old, but today, for the very first time in his life, he was defeated a couple of times in a row by someone like this. He blamed his stomach. After dinner, April applied some medicine to Aaron's face, then sat on the couch to watch TV and eat fruit. Aaron sat beside her, watching her eat grapes and oranges and other fruits. So she has similar preferences as me. I never realized it before, Aaron thought. I want some too, he said bossily. Peel them for me. April picked up his hand and stuffed a grape into his palm. Mr. Bennet, you are able and not physically challenged, so peel them yourself. Weren't you peeling and cutting your own fruits before I met you? Yes, and after you left, I only ate fruits that didn't require much prep work, Aaron said cheekily. You've spoilt me. April was speechless. She was acting under his command previously. Back then, she swallowed so much anger and frustration while serving him. My apologies, Mr. Bennet. You must be confused. I was your caretaker then, so I had to take care of you. Now that you are my boyfriend, it's your turn to serve me. April was feeling pleased with herself. She remembered that she promised herself to make him pay should he fall in love with her one day. Of course, she wasn't sure if he was in love with her yet, but he did ask her to be his girlfriend. He practically begged her to mistreat him. Aaron was taken aback. Impossible. My friends' girlfriends, I'll treat them like a king. They feed and clothe them. They unbuckle their belts before going to bed, and April frowned and interrupted him. Mr. Bennet, Are you sure you're talking about their girlfriends? Sounds like they have hostesses serving them day in and day out. Anyway, Mr. Bennett, you even know about the girls unbuckling their belts. Are you also... April looked green with disgust while maintaining a safe distance from him. Erin's expression turned ugly. What are you implying? I only heard about these things from them. You were the only woman who had done these things for me before. April spat out the tea she was sipping. Don't spout nonsense. Erin curled into a smile as he watched her blush. Yeah, you've unbuckled my belt. You've even put on my underwear for me before. Gosh, we've been through so much together. You're practically destined to be my girlfriend. April's neck was turning red, too. What was he on about? She was employed then and had to take care of him. It barely meant anything. Anyway, girlfriends are a different ballgame. You have to pamper them like princesses. All right, then. I'll be unbuckling your belts, putting on your clothes, Erin happily announced. Damn it. She couldn't carry on with the conversation. She had wanted to prank him, but he was driving her mad. Enough. I'm going home. I still have unfinished homework. The professor is expecting us to be prepared in class tomorrow. April stood up abruptly. Erin glanced at his watch and saw that it was only 8:30 p.m. He couldn't bear to let her go so early, but he didn't want to get in the way of her studies. She was still young, and they could spend all the time they wanted together once she graduated. No, he would make her move in with him. Then they would be together every single moment of the day. April picked up her bag and turned around to see him packing up the fruits into a paper bag. What are you doing? Don't you like these? Take them back to school with you. You can munch on them while you're studying, Erin said. April felt a gush of warmth flood over her heart, but no words could come out of her mouth. Episode 93. You're my girlfriend, so it's reasonable for me to help you. No one had cared for her like this for a long time. She didn't particularly like fruits. On the contrary, she never loved the fruits that needed to be peeled. Earlier, she ate the fruits only to make Erin feel sorry. Suddenly, she felt that it was actually nice to have a boyfriend. She understood that she shouldn't keep herself isolated only because a man had once hurt her. At about 9 o'clock, Erin prepared to park his car in the campus. April stopped him and said, Don't park here, just take me to the school gate. No, I'm driving you in. Erin refused. I want to see if anyone lighted candles or sang love songs for you tonight. The corners of April's mouth twitched slightly. Mr. Bennett, she said, I'm not that popular, okay? Besides, you've already told everybody in the forum that I have a boyfriend. Who will try to pursue me now? Don't you know that quite some people like to steal others' girlfriends these days? Erin said as he parked the car, insisting on walking her to her dorm. April had no choice but to let him do what he wanted. At night in the campus, Erin held her hand. Under the road lamps, their shadows were long. April glanced around, seeing plenty of couples. At night, students were mostly in pairs, so no one would notice them. Let's go to a movie tomorrow. You seem to love movies, but we can't see any of Ryan Rodriguez's movies, Erin said in a low voice. He believed that a couple needed to spend as much time as they could with each other. April smiled. Mr. Bennett, she responded, I'm afraid I don't have time for that. I have a part-time job. Do you mean that crappy film crew that you worked with by the seaside last time? Erin asked. Not exactly a crappy crew. It's an idle drama. Many people have been looking forward to it, she said. Don't go. That lame crew isn't good enough for you. Erin ignored her words and continued. And you majored in broadcasting, so why should you waste your time doing meaningless jobs? Didn't you say that you love being a voice actor? You should take voice acting internships. If you can't find one, I'll arrange it for you. You don't need to. Don't overthink this. I won't suddenly make you voice act for the leading actresses unless you're capable enough to do that. Even though you're my girlfriend, I can't make the film and television industry worse than it already is because of you. She found his words both funny and annoying. However, she admired him for thinking in this way. After all, things like investors demanding their film crews to make their girlfriends the leading actress happened quite frequently. But unlike them, Erin sounded impartial. Mr. Bennett, our relationship has just started. If you're too nice to me and I ask you for too much help, we might become unequal. So please, let me try to do it on my own first, okay? Why unequal? Erin wore an unhappy look and said, You're my girlfriend, so it's reasonable for me to help you. But the more you help me, the more I'll think I owe you. April, too, knitted her brows and said with a soft voice, If one day I really need your help, I'll tell you. You're just regarding me as an outsider. Aaron was mad. I've made it clear enough. I'm not going to help you build your career. You still need to rely on your own efforts. Can we discuss this later? She sighed. She appreciated him, but she couldn't let him help her. Once she did, he would soon find out that she was April Eisenberg from the Eisenberg Group. She didn't want to face her past. Back then, wherever she went, everyone despised her and reproached her. Of course, that didn't mean she planned to stop voice acting altogether after Isaac spread rumors about her. She wanted to rough it out by herself first before she turned to others for help. Aaron was miffed. Not only did she turn down his good intentions, she didn't try to pacify him at all after seeing how mad he was. He was boiling mad. When he reached the dormitory, he looked around before them, saying gravely, "Since no one is trying to confess to you, I'll make a move then." "Okay." April nodded her head before she caught his dark and serious gaze. "Is there anything you want to say to me?" Aaron stared at her intently. April blinked her eyes in confusion. "Drive safely?" Aaron stared at her for another couple of seconds before turning on his heels angrily. April watched him stalk away in anger and waited for a while before entering the building. At around 10 p.m., Winnie returned to the dormitory and caught April daydreaming on her swivel chair. Her laptop was turned on and a plate of fruits was sitting beside it. There were grapes, plums, and mangosteen. "Wow, where'd you get all these fruits from? I thought you didn't like these fruits." Winnie pinched the plums. "What's wrong with you? You seem kind of out of your element." "I'm just thinking, if you hear rumors about how crappy of a person I am in the future, will you still be my friend?" April asked. Winnie paused before replying to her lightly. "What are you overthinking about? As long as you don't hurt me, we'll always be friends. If you did anything terrible, then I have the responsibility to pull you back to the right path, too." "Thank you." April's lips quivered and she curled up into a ball. At the Arrington Corporation, Richard appeared in his CEO's office early in the morning. Bustling with excitement, he caught Aaron scolding his secretary the moment he entered the room. "How many times do I have to tell you to put a lemon slice in my morning coffee? Why do you keep forgetting this? How can I trust you with anything else if you can't even accomplish such a small task?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett. I'm sorry. I'll pay more attention next time." The female secretary was apologizing frantically. "Oi, bad morning, huh?" Richard signaled the secretary to leave them alone. "What happened? I thought everything was going well last night with your beautiful lover. Are you throwing a tantrum because you didn't get to sleep with her last night?" "Take it easy, brother. You've only just started seeing her." "Am I that thirsty?" Aaron glared at him. "Can't say for sure. I mean, your tool did stand when she gave you a shower." Richard giggled in amusement. Aaron massages his temples. "You normally don't show up at the company till 11 a.m. So what are you doing here so early?" "Gossip, of course. We've been brothers for so many years and you finally got attached. I can't begin to tell you what I'm feeling." Richard rubbed his chest. "I feel even more stirred and excited than when I got into a relationship myself." Aaron's expression turned sour. Stirring was a seductive word when April used it, but he felt sick hearing it from Richard. "Say, do you think a man who throws himself at a woman is unattractive?" Richard was excited by these series of events. His brother was being ill-treated by a lady. Before he could reply, Aaron interrupted himself harshly. "Get to the main point. I'll assign you to the African Recca projects if you speak nonsense." What a heartless man, Richard thought. He forced himself to swallow his excitement and said seriously, "Yeah, it's quite a turnoff." Episode 94. And Isaac, the man I introduced you to last year. Hearing Richard's words, Aaron's face turned as cold as ice. Richard didn't want to be sent to Africa, so he hurriedly added, "But of course I was talking about ordinary people. Someone as handsome and rich as you can only become more and more valuable, like potential stocks." "I know," Aaron said as he leaned against the back of his chair. His icy face slowly warmed back up. "But why did she reject me when I offered to find her a work opportunity and say that she didn't want us to become unequal? That means she's an honest girl. In the film and television circle, girls like her are scarce." Richard nodded and said, "You've just built a relationship, so she isn't sure if you're the right guy for her yet. Over time, she might feel that you two aren't the perfect match and might want to break up with you, but if you've helped her too much, she wouldn't be able to convince herself to break up with you, as she'll think that she owes you." "Break up?" Aaron raised his voice, sneered, and said, "Impossible. I am perfect. Any girl would want to hold my hand tight. How could she possibly ever want to break up with me? It seems that you know nothing. Forget it, I'll figure it out myself. All right, I'll let you try to figure it out, but you probably generate some other unimaginable thoughts. He suddenly felt that it was quite difficult for April to deal with such a difficult boyfriend. She doesn't want my help now, but you should go purchase a film company for me as a preparation, said Aaron. I don't want the poorly managed ones. I want a good one. When she comes round, I'll get her into that company. She's my girlfriend, so I need to treat her well. The corner of Richard's mouth twitched slightly. I don't think that's necessary, he said. She isn't going to be an actress. She only does voice acting. Aaron glanced at him, crossed his arms, and raised his head proudly and said, She's my woman, so even if she only does voice acting, I'll still get her the best resources. Are you serious? Richard raised his brows and said, April used to work for you as a carer, so I'm guessing her family background isn't ideal. I don't think your father will accept her. That old man? When did I ever take him seriously? Aaron responded blandly. Richard didn't know what to say. At that moment, Richard's phone started ringing. He glanced at the screen of his phone, then murmured something before answering the call. Graham, finally got time to call me, he said. We need a fourth in our mahjong game tonight. Will you come? Graham asked. Who are the other three? Max Urban and Isaac Davidson, who I introduced you to last year. I remember him. He's running a film company, isn't he? Said Richard. Yeah, why? I recently want to buy a film company just for fun. I don't know much about the industry, so I plan to find an expert to teach me something about it. All right, I'll come at night. After ending the call, Richard turned back to Aaron, then pointed at his phone and said, Neither of us know a thing about the film industry, so I'm going to try to learn something about it first. Feel like joining me? No. You going out with April tonight? No. This topic made Aaron a little unhappy. I'll have dinner with my mom and Sylvia tonight. You should spend more time with your mom. At 11 o'clock in the morning, April spent about 10 minutes wandering near the City View International, then finally went upstairs and rang the doorbell. Clark! April paused slightly and asked, Why are you here? You're a little late. Miss Rosario went out to film an ad. Clark smiled slightly. But Mr. Isaac is here. Oh, I'll come back tomorrow then. April was ready to leave. Stand right there. A familiar voice called out. I know you're looking for Rosaria because of producer Sullivan. It's the same as talking to me. April took a deep breath, and she turned around to see Isaac standing behind Clark in a gray cashmere cardigan over a white t-shirt. He looked handsome and casual, all while exuding a charismatic vibe. She smiled. It's not the same. You are an attached man who slept with another woman, and yet you're still insisting that I'm your fiancé. I must be wary of you. Who knows what kind of disgusting things you would do to me. No matter what, though, Rosaria is a girl, and I don't have to worry about her harassing me. Even Rosaria has to listen to me. Do you understand? Isaac said plainly. If you leave now, you're doing a disservice to Professor Connor, who once helped you. April gave a cold smile. He had clearly figured out her various social connections. Come in, don't worry. I won't force you to do anything you don't want to. I'm fried after an entire night with Rosaria yesterday, and I don't have the energy to force myself onto you, Isaac said. A feeling of disgust bubbled in April's stomach as she looked at the handsome face in front of her. Clark frowned as he stepped aside to make way for April. Rosaria's not here, and you shall make me lunch today. Tidy up the house while you're at it, too. Isaac sat on the couch and fished out his phone. I'll pass producer Sullivan's film during the assessment at the end of the month if you do a good job. It's only a week away from the assessment. Are you toying with me? April couldn't believe his generous proposition. I mean, it wouldn't hurt for you to see whether I'll keep my promise till the end of the month, and there's only a couple of days left, Isaac said without raising his head. April scoffed. Huh. Rosaria and you are both nasty people. If I have to serve you guys, it'll be like entering a lion's den. No matter how short the duration is, I'll have to keep my guards up at all times in case you guys sell me out. I won't. Isaac looked her in the eye. It was hard to read his thoughts. How could he bear to sell her away? He just wanted to deal with Kenneth Eisenberg. April smiled coldly as if she would believe him. Isaac had almost sold her off to Mr. Lennox previously. You can fool a 3-year-old, but not me. You keep company with people like Mr. Lennox, and how many of the artists under your company have you sold off to him? What nonsense are you saying? Isaac looked grim. April was surprised. He didn't do those things? But according to their conversation previously, Isaac seemed to be quite close with Mr. Lennox, so he must be pulling an act in front of her. That was what he was best at anyway. I'm not lying to you. If you want them to pass the assessment at the end of the month, then you better hurry along and go marketing. Pick up the groceries and make me rice and dishes for lunch, Isaac instructed her coldly. April bit on her lip. Okay, but you have to give me money for the groceries because I don't have money. Isaac glanced over at Clark and he handed over $300 to April. You should know what I enjoy eating. Don't be stingy with the food and return the remaining cash, Isaac said. Okay, April said. Gee, did he have to be so calculative when it comes to petty cash? How did he change so much? April thought. She found herself missing Aaron. She suddenly realized that Aaron hadn't called her during breakfast this morning. Was he still angry? What are you dazing about? Hurry along now, Isaac reprimanded her. April left the house silently. After the door closed, Clark walked over to Isaac where he was sitting and asked, Isaac, must you really be so harsh? Wouldn't it be better if you changed your way of communicating with her? Episode 95. Don't push her this hard. Change in what way? Isaac turned back and said with a dry voice, I sent Kenneth Eisenberg to prison. She hates my guts. What else can I do but this? You're keeping her around, but I worry that you might be pushing her heart further and further away. Clark sighed. Is this what you want? The guy named Richard perhaps doesn't mind her past. Isaac gripped his phone and asked, Maybe he doesn't mind, but what about his family? Then what about her heart? She'll hate you more and more. You're stimulating her with Rosaria, and you want her to be jealous, but have you ever thought that she might grow in antipathy to all this? Isaac, think about it. You don't need to destroy the relationship between you and her for the hatred between you and Kenneth Eisenberg. Don't go too far. She's a woman, and she has nothing left. You're pushing her too hard. Isaac paused, as if he was suddenly disabled from moving. And don't you forget about April's mother. All these years you've taken everything that her mother sent her, but that doesn't mean her mother won't try finding her. You know her mother's name, so you should know who she is. If she knows that her daughter's life has become like this, she'll definitely do something, Clark reminded Isaac. Hearing that, Isaac's veins throbbed in his temples. He fretfully grabbed the cigarette case on the table, lit up a cigarette, puffed on it a few times, then responded in a hoarse voice, So I can never let her go out of my control. I won't let her and her mother ever see each other. A cruel look flashed across his eyes that made Clark shiver in fear. When April had returned from shopping, Clark had left. Isaac was in the living room reading files and didn't even glance at her. She went to the kitchen and made 3 dishes. After she had served the food, Isaac walked over. When finding that all the foods on the table were his favorite, his throat squirmed slightly. She did remember what he liked. Isaac tasted the foods, then said abruptly, Your culinary skill has improved quite a lot. April paused slightly, then gave a sarcastic smile. She used to be a spoiled girl. She had a cook, so she never needed to cook for herself. However, later on, when she was all alone, she needed to learn everything. Fortunately, she was a good learner. She slowly figured out how to cook, and after spending a while with Sister Emily, her culinary skills advanced rapidly. Isaac kicked the empty chair beside her and said, Sit down and eat with me. I'm good. I had lunch in the kitchen, said April flatly. Isaac raised his head and said with a dark look, Who gave you permission to eat the food there? April remained silent for a short while, then took out $5 from her trouser pocket, put it on the table and said, I only had some plain rice. I didn't even touch the dishes. What I ate is worth no more than this. I'm paying you, all right? The disgust and hatred that suddenly appeared in her eyes made Isaac feel a dull pain in his heart. How could he possibly treat her so stingily? He was just mad at her because she wouldn't eat together with him. Thinking of her eating plain rice alone in the kitchen, Isaac felt his heart ache so much that he couldn't even breathe. As Isaac didn't say anything, April turned and left, saying, I'm doing the cleaning now. Make dinner earlier. I'm playing mahjong with my friends tonight. You'll go with me to serve us, said Isaac with a deep voice. April frowned, turned back, and said alertly, You'll have people to serve you over there. Why do you want me to go? You're not planning to send me to your mahjong friends' beds, are you? What are you talking about? Hearing that, Isaac's eyes turned slightly red. He couldn't believe that April would think of him as someone who would just do that kind of thing. You know the truth better than anyone else. April looked at him warily. She wasn't exactly afraid of him. She carried lots of self-protective equipment on her. I won't do that. Isaac tightened his grip around his chopsticks and said seriously, everyone is bringing their +1s tonight, and I'm bringing you because Rosaria is not free. April gave him a side glance. She couldn't stand these men, and why must they bring their female counterparts along for a game of poker? Why was Aaron so different from them despite coming from the same kind of background? It probably stemmed from their different upbringing. Of course, Aaron must think that he was so perfect that no women on this earth were worthy of his company. At 8 o'clock in the evening at the Great Ocean International Hotel, Isaac got off the car and threw his keys to the valet boy, and April followed behind him hurriedly as they entered the elevator that brought them straight to the president's suite. There were 2 young men sitting in the room with cigars hanging on their lips. They looked about 30 or so. Both of them had female companions with them, and one of the girls looked familiar, and April racked her brain to match the face to a name. Then it struck her that it was Stephanie Malone, the popular blogger that Annie hated. The other girl had an unnatural face that was thick with makeup as well. One could tell that she had gone under the knife before. There were so many people in the entertainment industry who had undergone plastic surgery. No wonder Aaron accused her of going through plastic surgery as well when he first saw her again. Oi, Isaac, where'd you find such a natural beauty? Graham's eyes were glistening with curiosity, and he could tell from one glance whether someone's face was man-made or not. Well, she's even prettier than Rosaria, you lucky bastard. Judging from your looks, you must still be in university. April pursed her lips. She could also tell at one glance that he was a rich playboy, and she was put off by his demeanor. Isaac glanced at her and said, "Don't spout rubbish." His casual remark seemed like denial on the surface, but it did insinuate something deeper, especially in their social circle. People might really believe that she was in a romantic relationship with Isaac. Come, Mr. Davidson, come have a smoke. Max Urban threw a cigarette towards Isaac and pointed at Stephanie. What do you think about her? Can you arrange an interview for her for the next time your company undertakes a new project? She doesn't need to be the main actress, but she can even play the role of a supporting actress to grow her popularity. She's quite pretty, so I'll see what I can do. Isaac lit the cigarette between his teeth. Count yourself a true brother. Max elbowed the girl next to him. Say your thanks. Thanks, Mr. Davidson. Stephanie was beaming from the inside. I've only heard about you previously, and it's my honor to finally meet you in person. I didn't expect you to be such a young and handsome man. Hey, what's the compliments you pay to other men? Max teased as he pinched her cheeks. Don't be petty, but I do like how bossy you are, Stephanie said coyly as she leaned into his arms. April felt like puking as she watched them. This was precisely why she refused to go into acting or modeling. The social relationships were way too complicated. Anyway, why isn't Richard here yet? Graham said suddenly. I just called him. He says he's downstairs already. The mention of Richard completely threw her off. She didn't expect Richard to be one of his poker mates tonight. Oh, right. She recalled Richard introducing Isaac to Aaron last year. How could she forget that? Mr. Davidson, I think I left my phone in the car. I'll go get it. April picked a convenient excuse. Isaac took a puff of smoke and saw the anxiety in her eyes. He felt a pang of sharp pain in his chest. Episode 96. April, why are you here? Isaac wished that this whole thing would be a misunderstanding. Or maybe Richard fancied April, but she didn't like him back. However, when he saw the uneasy look in her eyes, he knew that he was wrong. Just leave your phone. You're here to keep me company, not to spend time on your phone. Isaac abruptly grabbed her arm and dragged her hard. Without preparation, April fell into his lap. I'm sorry. I'm late because I got stuck in traffic. Bright laughter was heard from the door as a handsome man walked in. You all have ladies' friends. April struggled up in a panic. In order to avoid being recognized by Richard, she bent over and pretended to look for something under the table. April, what are you doing? Get up. Say hi to Mr. Jones. Isaac grabbed her arms and forced her to turn around. Then she saw Richard's surprised face. April, why are you here? Richard was shocked. When he saw Isaac grab April's arm, his face darkened instantly. Mr. Jones, do you know each other? Isaac raised his eyebrows and said, She's my housekeeper in Rosewood City. Housekeeper? Richard narrowed his eyes. Richard might believe Isaac if April didn't become a student of Langford and the girlfriend of Aaron, but April would never be this desperate for money. Unless... Richard remembered that when she was Aaron's carer, Aaron was rather obsessed with her. He began to wonder if April liked to hook up with guys through this kind of method. And just now, when he came in, he saw her lying on Isaac's lap. The more he thought, the darker his eyes became. Seeing the look in his eyes, April knew that he had misunderstood him. "Mr. Jones, you misunderstood," she hurriedly explained. "I'm Rosaria's assistant. Rosaria is busy today, so I came here to keep Mr. Davidson company." Max chuckled with a deep voice and said, "Mr. Davidson, you have quite some charm. Even Rosaria's assistant is willing to take care of you. Does Rosaria know about this? If she does, I'd admire you. Tell me how you managed it. If I did the same, Steph would kill me." Stephanie glanced at April scornfully and laughed. "I'm not so generous. If you ever dare to do the same, you won't be able to get in bed for a whole week." Max pinched her nose and said, "I like your rudeness." Richard's face turned sourer and sourer. Graham suddenly recalled that Isaac had asked him about the limited edition sports car a couple of days ago. He guessed something, then started feeling sorry for himself. Among all of his friends, Richard was the nicest one, but now he looked really angry. "Aren't we here to play mahjong? Why are we wasting time on those unimportant people? Come, sit down," he said. "Yeah," Isaac smiled and said, "Mr. Jones, if you like her, I'll give her to you as a gift. She's just a woman, and she's not really a decent woman." In shock, April turned to look at Isaac's handsome, smiling face. He had hurt her countless times. She thought she was already too numb to feel anything else. However, he always surprised her by hurting her more and more. Richard paused briefly as he didn't think Isaac would say something like that. "Mr. Davidson, as a human being, you shouldn't be that shameless." April always told herself to try one more time, but at this point, she found that she had reached her limit. Isaac ignored the painful look in her eyes and said, "What about what you just said when you tried to lure me while Rosaria wasn't around? All the students from the Langford Arts faculty are the same. You are all looking for chances to latch on to someone rich and powerful. Stop playing hard to get. I know what you're after, and you want me to help you gain popularity, don't you? I was going to give you a chance since you were quite pretty, but since Mr. Jones fancies you too, I shall not get in the way of someone else. But watch out, Mr. Jones. You can fool around with her, but I wouldn't dare to touch her if I were you. Careful of transmittable diseases. Who knows how many men she has tried to seduce before me." After what Isaac said, the whole room looked at April with contempt. April stood awkwardly and her eyes were brimming with tears. She realized that Isaac was already being unkind to her previously with his insults and humiliations. "Isaac, you are really the most despicable man I've ever met in my life." April walked over to the table and picked up a glass of water. She flung the cup in his face without hesitation. All the women in the room gasped, and Graham roughly figured out the situation and sat where he was without flinching. Max, on the other hand, misread Richard's expression and took April for someone who played with his emotions. He slammed his palm onto the table and flung a glass of red wine onto April's face. "You're just a mere nobody from the art school. Who do you think you are?" The wine made her fringe wet and flowed down the sides of her cheeks. She blinked furiously as she could no longer hold back her tears. At this point, nobody could tell if she was crying or not. Isaac clenched his fist under the table, willing himself not to move. Richard frowned and tried to stop him. "Max." Richie, I'm helping you teach this woman a lesson," Max said coldly. "You're right, Mr. Davidson. You are a little too naive. Women these days are too sly." Richard pursed his lips in silence. He was at a loss of words. April inhaled a sharp breath and wiped her face with her sleeves, raised her head and gave a cold laugh. "Mr. Davidson, if you think of me as such a dirty woman, I should keep my distance from you for the rest of my life in case I infect you with something." She looked at him meaningfully before turning to leave. She was going to remember that face, that amount of humiliation he brought to her for the rest of her life. From this day on, her hatred for Isaac would never cease. Isaac's pupils constricted and he felt his chest suffocate. His dark eyelashes were moist from tears welling up in his eyes. Her gaze was imprinted onto his mind. He was scared. He didn't expect himself to say such nasty things, but he couldn't help himself when he saw how concerned she was about Richard's opinion of her. He was like a crazy person. His mind was in a whirlwind, but his face was still plastered with a smile. "Look, what a shameless woman. She's just angry that I blew her cover. She still wants to preserve her modesty after being a slut. Mr. Jones, you like this kind of woman? Richard maintained a poker face. Graham cleared his throat and said, Oh, right. Richie, didn't you say that you wanted to discuss something with Isaac? You told me that you wanted to buy over a movie production company. It's fine. I've changed my mind. Richard's face was dark as he stood up and kicked the chair out of his way, stomping out of the room. Where are you going, Richie? You haven't played any poker. Max tried to persuade him. It's just a woman, don't be angry. I'll introduce you to someone better next time. Episode 97. Isaac was my fiancé. Richard understood that these people all thought there was something going on between April and himself, but he didn't bother to explain. If he told them that it was actually Aaron who was with April now, Aaron might get embarrassed, and that would be even worse. Forget it. I'm not in the mood. You guys have fun, he said. Then he walked away with long strides. Damn, cursed Max. I'll call another friend. Graham felt a little embarrassed. After all, he was the one who arranged this mahjong party. Isaac, what do you say? Isaac only lowered his head to smoke. Among the coiling smoke, his face was barely visible. In the parking lot, Richard walked out of the elevator, took out his phone, and found Aaron's number. However, he wasn't sure about how to tell Aaron about what he just saw. He and Aaron never said a good thing about each other, yet he knew Aaron the best. For April, Aaron had even been learning about sweet talk skills and constellation knowledge recently. Richard hadn't seen him take any girl so seriously for a long time. Mr. Jones? April showed up, blocked his way, and looked him in the eyes. Can we talk? She asked. About what? Richard pulled a long face and gave a cold smile, then responded with, April, you're so good at pretending. This time Benny and I were really wrong. Even though April knew that Richard had misunderstood her, she still felt awfully embarrassed when hearing these words. It's not what you think, she explained. I saw you lying on Isaac's lap with my own eyes. Do you have any sense of shame? So many people were looking at you. How on earth could Benny be with someone like you? I should have never supported him on this. The more he talked, the angrier he got. Working as his housekeeper and carer, this is how you hook up with men, am I right? Before you came in, Isaac dragged me forward, so I fell on his lap. You can ask the others on the scene if you want. How convenient. Why didn't you fall anywhere else? Besides, if you are wronged as you claimed, why did Isaac do that to you? You're just a student after all. April closed her eyes and gave a bitter smile. Out of words, huh? Richard warned her with a cold voice. Stay away from Benny. Don't ever let me see you try to get close to him or... Isaac was my fiancé, said April abruptly. Hearing that, Richard choked on his words. April helplessly curved her pale lips and said, He hates me very much. Back in Lukesville and now here in Rosewood City, he's been trying anything he can to destroy me. That's impossible. Everyone knows that Isaac's girlfriend is Rosaria Miller. I've heard about his fiancée, but that was years ago. I thought that girl's family's name was something Eisenberg. My name is April Eisenberg, April interrupted him and said. My father is Kenneth Eisenberg, who used to own Eisenberg Pictures. He went to prison for molesting a student. Then I left Lukesville and changed my family name to Kennedy. Richard was stunned. He rubbed his short hair, spending quite a while to process what he had just heard. So you've been hiding your family name because you are the daughter of Kenneth Eisenberg, the famous molester. My father didn't do that. Isaac framed him. Well, you may not believe me, she said blandly. I didn't want to tell you all this, but I don't want Aaron to think I am a shameless, nasty woman. I'm here tonight because of the online series that I worked on earlier. Isaac found out about the online series, so he pulled a few strings to stop it from airing. The few directors have put everything they have into the online series. They were all nice to me during work. I can't bear to watch them lose everything, so I came here to beg Isaac. He said that as long as I work for Rosaria as her assistant, he'll consider letting the online series pass the censorship. I don't have a choice. He said all those nasty things to ruin my reputation, to humiliate me. Think about it. If I wanted to gain popularity, I could have just made use of Aaron. He's even more influential than Isaac. Do I really need to hanker with two men? Why is Isaac treating you this way? Richard narrowed his eyes in disbelief. He says that my family owes it to him. April frowned and mulled for a moment. If you don't believe me, you can ask around within the entertainment industry. Isaac went around and told the crew members not to hire me as a voice actor. I haven't been able to find a project since Rosaria came to Rosewood City. All the directors here know about that. Richard was starting to believe her. If Isaac was really the perpetrator behind April's misfortune, he was indeed a despicable man. No matter what April's father did, Isaac had taken down the entire Eisenberg Corporation and found himself such a beautiful girlfriend. It should have been enough revenge, but he still wanted to drive his ex-fiancée up against a wall. What kind of vengeance did he harbor? Why didn't you tell Benny all this? April chuckled apathetically. I had to quit school and leave Lukesville because of the vicious rumors about me. I grew tired of how heartless and cruel people were. I had enough of all the judgmental looks they gave me, their avoidance of my presence. I was afraid that it would happen here again. I was scared that people would identify me as the daughter of a criminal, judge me along with my father's crimes. I'm only telling you my story now as I don't want you to think otherwise of me. It's my painful past, and it hurts me every time I recount it. It will be the greatest scar of my life. I just wanted to clear things up with you. It's up to you if you want to believe me or not. She turned to leave. Do you still love Isaac? Richard shouted. Love? April turned around incredulously. How is that possible? That's good. If you can't forget about Isaac, then stay away from Benny. Richard hesitated before speaking softly. I was there tonight because he said that he wanted to purchase a film production company. He's doing that for you, you know. He said that now that you're his girlfriend, he has the responsibility to find you the best resources available, regardless of whether you're receptive to his help. April looked at him in a daze. She felt her heart fluttering. Aaron's handsome face appeared in her mind. She could picture him telling her that he would give her the best things in the world. She thought that he didn't mean what he said, but he was already executing his promises to her behind her back. Last night, she still turned him down like that. The film that is on hold, I'll settle it for you. Don't go looking for Isaac again. Richard turned to leave. April stood in the same spot for ages before taking the train back to school. She was in a daze the entire train ride back to the school campus. She didn't know whether to count that night as luck or misfortune. Richard should be able to settle the issue as he promised, but she didn't know whether he would tell Aaron about what happened that night. By the time she got back to the dormitory, it was already 9 p.m. She flung herself onto her bed before taking a shower. The wine stain on her face had already dried up, but the humiliation was stuck on her as she replayed the scene again and again in her mind. Suddenly her phone rang. It was a local number. Hello, who's this? Episode 98. Who bullied you? Back to school? A familiar voice was heard from the phone. April was in a daze for a short while before recognizing Isaac's voice. April, I'm warning you. Men like Richard will never really like you. Want to get into a wealthy family like the Jones family? In your dreams. You should stay with me. Stop thinking about him. April felt icy cold. It turned out that Isaac did what he did tonight on purpose because he thought something was going on between Richard and April. April didn't understand why he thought that way. Isaac, I'll remember how you insulted me tonight for the rest of my life, April said tremblingly, then hung up the phone. Dropping the phone, she clenched the blanket, tears gushing down her face. In less than a minute, her phone rang again. She thought it was Isaac again, so she grabbed the phone and yelled, Stop calling! Go away, you make me sick! The one on the other side of the phone remained silent for a while. Then April heard Aaron's unique voice. Who makes you sick? April gave a start, then hurriedly wiped her tears and looked closely at the phone. Finding that it was Aaron who'd called her, she said, Sorry, I didn't see your number just now. Who bullied you? Aaron asked in a cold voice. The concern in his voice was hard to conceal. April wanted to cry. She bit her lips hard because she worried that he might hear her nasally voice. Are you in your dorm room? Aaron continued asking as she wasn't responding. She replied. Come down. I'm downstairs, he said shortly. April paused for a second, then her heart began thumping. Yesterday, she could tell that he was angry. She thought that he wouldn't talk to her in at least a few days. After all, he was such a proud man, but to her surprise, he came to her tonight. He's not here to ask questions and give me trouble because Richard told him about who I really was, is he? Don't get me wrong. I'm here because Richie misses you, Aaron added proudly and coldly. April felt a little nervous before, but hearing the simple words he said, her bad mood instantly left. Well, it seems that Richard was right, but this excuse of his is way too hilarious. It's not like I've spent a lot of time with Richard, and can a dog possibly tell people about its feelings? I'm not the kind of person Richie fancies. Come down quickly. If Genasi gets impatient down here, it'll be troublesome. He really misses you. Erin hastened her impatiently. April found him both funny and annoying. All right, I'm coming down right now. Wait a second, I'll need to change. You don't need to. Hurry up, he said. No, I have to change. Her shirt was stained with wine, so how could she not change? I said you don't need to. I like you in your pajamas, especially the pink ones, he said. April paused. Pajamas? She lowered her head to look at her clothes, then figured it out. Erin thought that she was still in pajamas. It surprised her that he actually liked to see her in pajamas. She blushed, thinking about that. All right, I'll come down in my pajamas, she said. She quickly changed into the green pajama set that she left on her bed, then washed her face and brushed her hair. After this, she went downstairs. At the entrance of the dorm building, she looked around, then found Erin under the most inconspicuous tree near the dorm. He was wearing a black sweater and black pants, carrying a paper bag. If April didn't see Richie, she might not have been able to find him. Mr. Bennett, why are you standing in such an inconspicuous spot? She never expected someone as egoistic as him to be standing at the main gate. Your campus has strict rules about dogs entering. I hit him in the back of the car when I drove here just now. Erin was examining her. It was the first time he saw her wearing mint green on her. She looked refreshing and elegant. He always thought that she looked adorable in her pink pajamas, but she looked even better in mint green. His woman was so beautiful. She looked pretty in everything. Why are you staring at me like that, Mr. Bennett? April smiled, judging by his demeanor. She knew that Richard hadn't told him anything. She was relieved. Thank God she clarified things with Richard earlier on. He must have thought of her as an indecent woman. If Richard misunderstood her and told Erin about it, he wouldn't be so nice to her anymore. She found that she cared about Erin's opinion of her more and more. She knew that even if she told him the truth, he wouldn't despise her for her past. He would probably say something along the lines of, "It's okay, your dad is your dad and you are you. I'll continue to like you as long as you are morally upright." But her dad was innocent too. She wished that someone believed in her dad as much as she did, but she wasn't sure if Erin would believe him. "I've never seen you wear this color before." Erin forced himself to look away and handed over the paper bag. "My mother ate out tonight, and the goose meat was very delicious. I packed some for you." April looked at him in surprise. He hit her soft spot. She took care of him previously and knew that he wasn't a meticulous or considerate person, but here he was delivering supper for her. He always had her in his thoughts. He had helped her countless times, even when she didn't express her gratitude or reciprocate his feelings. Even though she was dating him out of some affection for him, she mainly agreed to this relationship out of obligation. She didn't even expect their relationship to last for too long. Right now, she was fighting back the urge to hold him tightly, even if she knew that she wasn't good enough for him, that his family would never embrace her. "Don't read too much into this," Erin said uncomfortably as she stared into his eyes. "These are our leftovers. I didn't want it to go to waste. I know you are a glutton, and I was passing by your school anyway." "Okay, I'm not reading too much into it. I'm just hungry," April said and took the paper bag from him. Erin wanted to bite his own tongue. He drove about an hour to get there just to deliver some supper to her. He wanted her to feel his sincerity and touch her heart. She barely acknowledged him just now. "Mr. Bennett, there's a small forest over there. Can you accompany me there to eat?" April grabbed his hands. Forest. Small forest. Erin glanced at the hand she was holding. She hardly ever held his hands, and now she was dragging him into the woods. He heard rumors that the school woods weren't very healthy. They cut through the narrow path and arrived at the bench that April spent most of her time at, reading. Erin looked around them and said, "Why aren't there any couples around here? When I studied abroad, I always saw couples making out in the forest. Sometimes I even heard rustlings in the bushes." "Rustlings?" "Yeah, you know what I mean." Erin looked at her cheekily. She chose to remain silent. Episode 99. She kissed him for the first time. She didn't want to know. April thought for a moment, then felt that he might be right. Then she began wondering why he brought her into the woods. He didn't think I would want to do it with him here, did he? Our school is quite strict, she said. Besides, this is an art university and all the students here have a chance to become a public figure, so most of us have been rather careful in our private lives in case people might find some embarrassing stories about us after we become famous. Erin nodded, stared at her, and responded with, "But you'll work behind the screen, so you don't need to worry about that." April blinked, her heart beating fast. "You're not planning to do something with me later, are you?" Hurriedly, she lowered her head and opened the paper bag. She took out the cute brown-colored little box and opened it. She then sliced goose meat and placed it neatly in the box. She looked at it carefully, then said, "Mr. Bennett, I think this is an entire goose. You said they were leftovers." "We ordered 2 gooses, but only ate 1. Erin looked at her, then said, "Go ahead, eat." April smiled faintly. Erin always lied to her, but why did she still like him more and more? "Mr. Bennett, thank you. I know you brought this specially for me." April abruptly turned her face and gently kissed him on the cheek. It was like a feather sliding through his face. There was an inexplainable gentleness about the sudden gesture. He froze. At that very moment, he felt that there were flowers blooming at the bottom of his heart, and that his heart was racing. Did she kiss him just now? She just kissed him for the first time. He turned to look at her. She didn't look back at him, but instead lowered her head and focused on eating. He couldn't see her face, only her ears, which were partially covered by her hair. However, he felt that she looked incredibly adorable, like a little bird. He gave a sweet smile, then moved closer to her until his body touched her arm. "A kiss on the cheek isn't enough. I want a kiss on the mouth," he said. The blushing April crushed a piece of goose bone with her teeth. She was already really shy when she had kissed him just then, but now he asked for a kiss on the mouth. "Mr. Bennett, I'm eating." She raised her head to give him a threatening glance. As she complained with her large eyes, Erin fixed his eyes on her glossy lips. Suddenly he lowered his head and kissed her hard. After the kiss, the taste of the goose lingered in his mouth. So he sighed. "The goose tastes good." Erin's face reddened all over. Fortunately, it was dark and they were in the woods. She was too shy to give him a response. She continued eating. Erin tried a few more times, but failed to grasp a chance to kiss her again on the lips, so he put his face near hers and said, "I want some too. Feed me." As he put his head on her shoulder and breathed in her ear, April felt a slight numbness over her entire body and an itching from her heart as if a feather was floating across it. As she stayed silent, he bent over to eat the half-eaten piece of goose meat in her hand. He also gently bit her fingers. Her body immediately became burning hot. "Mr. Bennett," she murmured. "Don't you think you should stop calling me that?" he said. Everyone in his company called him Mr. Bennett, so if she kept calling him that, he might get distracted in the future when he wanted to do something with her in the bed. "What should I call you then?" April blinked her eyes. "Erin?" "Unoriginal." Erin shook his head. "Benny?" "No, everyone calls me that. It's not unique." "Then Ronnie?" April asked tentatively. Erin hummed for a while before he nodded. "That's quite interesting." Didn't he find that extremely mushy? It didn't compliment his cool and suave CEO image at all. He also warned Richard not to call him Benny multiple times. He said it was disgusting himself. She was suddenly tempted to ask him, "Do you have a secret fetish for masochism?" Mr. Bennett, Ronnie sounds a little cheesy." Erin raised his brows. "I thought that the cheesier the better." April sighed. "Jun-Jun reminds me of Jun that refers to bacteria." "I don't like it. I think I'll call you Erin. How about that? Erin sounds nice." "All right, whatever sounds nice to you," Erin said. "My original name is really quite nice." "Mr. Bennett, you really don't let go of any opportunity to brag about yourself," April thought. "Oh yeah," Erin sounded somber. "Just now over the phone you told someone to get lost and called him disgusting. Who are you referring to? Is someone pestering you?" "Yeah." "Who is it?" Erin felt anger bubble in his chest. How dare anyone bother his lady? "Someone who disgusts me?" Erin kept things vague. She wasn't going to find him ever again once the film got approved. "It's all over now." "You were still angry when I called you. He must have harassed you recently. How can you let it go?" Erin was relentless. "Is he from school or from work?" "Work." April figured that he wouldn't let it go so easily. "But I've already quit my job. I cut off all contact with him." "That's good." Aaron circled his arms around her shoulder. If he bothers you again, tell me, all right? I won't allow anyone to bully you. Not even myself. April felt a gush of affection after hearing what he said, and she allowed him to hold her like that. Aaron took the opportunity and pulled her close into his embrace. I've wanted to do this for a long time, he thought. April was caught off guard. She felt like he was exploding the opportunity and protested. Mr. Bennett. What did you call me? He said threateningly. Aaron. Yup, he replied blissfully. April was speechless. Can you let me go and let me eat the goose meat first? Bring it back to your dormitory. He wasn't going to let her go so easily now that she was in his arms. Let's chat. Now that you've quit your job, what are you planning to do now? We have a Christmas gala in the school next month, and I'm going to be the host. There's a lot of things I need to prepare. I think I'm going to focus my energy on that, and then go on dates with you whenever I'm free. Aaron felt his heart flutter. He looked down to the woman in his arms, and she squinted cheekily at him. He could taste the sweetness of the atmosphere in his mouth. No wonder everyone wanted to be in a relationship. Blood was coursing through his veins with vitality. He was so angry with her last night, but today he only felt sweetness and affection. Nothing else. We can talk about what you said about the resources available to me after the Christmas gala. Aaron hummed spitefully. Didn't you reject my help yesterday? Episode 100. Are you saying we can French kiss tomorrow? I rejected you because our relationship started suddenly and I'm confused. But I had a chance to think about it. I don't want to refuse your kindness. I will take our relationship seriously from this moment on, and I will try to know more about you. She meant what she said, regardless of what would happen in the future or what he would do after finding out about who she really was. She was young, and Isaac shouldn't become the reason for her to refuse the chance to devote herself to a good relationship. Hearing her words, Aaron was as delighted as he was when he founded this company and earned his first bucket of gold. You can learn about me very easily. As you have seen, I'm perfect. April bit her lips slightly, not continuing with that topic. She asked him, what about you? Are you dating me and being nice to me because you like me? Or is this simply because I refused you and made you want to win? Many men are like that. They date girls not because they fancy them, but because they couldn't get them in the first place. Want to win? Aaron paused slightly, then responded with, I don't quite understand the whole want to win thing because I can always get whatever I want. As for you, did you refuse me? Weren't you playing the hard to get game? April was very speechless. I don't think so. I only know that you're the only girl I've ever wanted to be with. Aaron continued in a clear voice. April raised her head to look at him. The moonlight poured on his handsome face through the leaves, making him look as beautiful as a piece of art created by God himself. Like many girls, April liked good-looking men. Since her boyfriend was so handsome, she decided to let him stay narcissistic. Don't look at me like you're drooling at my handsome face. I know you've been coveting me for quite a long time. Stop pretending. Aaron proudly smiled, then prepared to kiss her again. You've kissed me already. April covered her mouth, looking at him in the eyes. Both their hearts started beating fast. Yes, but now I want a French kiss, Aaron said frankly. April's face blushed scarlet. Don't be greedy. We've only been boyfriend and girlfriend for a few days, yet you've already kissed me. Aaron pondered shortly and then said, Are you saying that we can French kiss tomorrow? April was speechless again. When did I say that? What on earth was his method of thinking? If you peel me 2 bowls of grapes and a bowl of grapefruit, I'll French kiss you. Remember, you need to peel them yourself. Aaron blinked. He hated peeling fruits the most. What kind of bowl? He asked. Is a rice bowl okay, or baby bowl? No, large bowls. April pushed him away. Baby bowl in your dreams. Aaron knitted his eyebrows together and stared at her for a whole 30 seconds, then stood up abruptly. What are you doing? April gave a start. I'm going back home to peel grapes, he said. April suddenly regretted her choice. Now she felt like 2 bowls of grapes and a bowl of grapefruit was too little. There's no rush, she said. Aaron glanced at his watch and then said, It's 10:30. Most fruit shops will close for the night soon. I want sweet grapefruits, not the sour ones. She clearly remembered how Aaron used to treat her. Aaron frowned and said, Aren't you demanding too much? How? Didn't you demand the same before? Are you getting revenge? He frowned deeper and deeper. Apricot, I didn't think you were so narrow-minded. Yeah, April nodded her head in feigned innocence. Did you forget on the premiere night of Fake Love? I warned you not to fall in love with me or I was going to make you pay. Is that so? I completely forgot. Don't make things up, you hear me? He said. April continued to stare at him quietly until he appeared to look a little guilty. He cleared his throat and said, Fine. I underestimated your capabilities, you little vixen. She stood up with a smile. Go home. The dormitory is closing soon. Aaron walked her closer to her building along with Richard. Before parting, he reached out and gave her a tight hug before sadly leaving her. April watched his shadow disappear and felt her heart brim with happiness. He's long gone. What are you still grinning about? Someone had tapped her on the shoulder from behind. It was Winnie. She was looking at her with curiosity and amusement. April blushed and said, I was just thinking about something. You've just come back? I've been standing here since the moment Mr. Bennet held you in his embrace. You just didn't have the headspace to think about anything else. Winnie teased her. Fast progress, huh? How many days has it been since you guys got together? April looked at her sternly. Enough. Let's head up. Mr. Bennet brought me some goose meat. It's pretty good. Winnie looked at her in surprise. Wow, didn't see him as someone who could deliver supper to anyone late at night. I thought his EQ was too low for such a sweet gesture. He does have a low EQ, but he is quite motivated and takes a lot of initiative. If a man truly cares about a woman, she would know it. I think that it might not be necessary to look for a man with high EQ. Most guys like that are playboys who coddle their ladies with sweet talk, April said with a laugh. After getting to know him, you'll find that Mr. Bennet doesn't have the bad habits of those rich playboys. Wow, look at you, showering him with high praise and defending him loyally. You're a changed person now. Winnie bumped her shoulders mischievously. When they returned to their room, Annie was back as well. They shared a plate of the succulent meat before April took a shower. The unpleasant feelings she had after the encounter with Isaac were slowly being washed away. At the Bennet mansion, it was 11:30 p.m. and Aaron lugged 4 big bags of fruits into the house. Sylvia was lazing on the couch watching television. When she saw him walk in, her eyes lit up. What? Brother, did you buy all these back because I complained about the lack of snacks at your place just now? Did you know I was coming over? I'm so touched, brother. She sat up on the couch immediately and reached out for the bags. Aaron blocked her reach and said, This is not for you. Step aside. Sylvia looked around and said, There's only me around. Who are these 4 then? Don't tell me it's for real. She's not even around. Yes, I know. I'm going to peel them and deliver them to her tomorrow. Aaron called Sister Emily over. Wash these fruits for me. Sylvia was baffled. Bro, are you all right? You hate peeling things. Yes, I know, but I have no choice. He would do anything to kiss her again, no matter how much he detested the task. Oh my God, what kind of spell did Rail cast over you? Sylvia covered her mouth in disbelief. Okay, it's hard for you to find a girlfriend. I won't fight over this with you. Can I just have a little bit? Just a little bit? I don't know if I bought enough. You can have some grapes and plums. You can have the pomelo if it's sour. I don't believe this.